To the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything's working. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, your local game guy, and this is co-host Will.
What's up?
Fellow local gamer. Hey, Will. How are you?
Uh, Hectic day, but good enough.
Good enough. Nice. I think I'm in the good enough category as well. We wanted to start a little bit earlier, but you know what? I live in New York City, and all the fates were against me. But we're
You know
here
what?
now.
You can't always get what you want.
No, it was funny though, as I was bragging to Allie, my wife, this morning. The trains were great. Like, wow, I made every connection. I got to work early. This is weird. And then of course, I jinxed it. We both jinxed it. We were like, let's start earlier tomorrow. But we're starting around our regular time of 7:30. I think we're probably going to keep it around 7:30. Also, these streams typically run on Friday, but it's another one of those things. We might just move them to Thursday. We might as well just move them to Thursday. Well, I mean, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. If I don't see you, which I probably won't, happy V-Day. Enjoy that with your loved ones or alone, however you prefer to celebrate. I myself, I don't know what I'm doing. I got to figure that out. Don't tell my wife. But today, we're not talking about any of that. We're here for Commander Brackets. This is something that impacts this channel's Magic content greatly because it's what this channel was founded on, pretty much. We exclusively talked Magic the Gathering's Commander format from day one. Obviously, we talk a little bit more about other games these days, but Commander is sort of our bread and butter. Namely cEDH, which is thankfully still named the same thing, but if you didn't
it's bracket
catch...
5 now, Patrick. It's bracket 5. You have to refer to it as that.
They call it cEDH, though. Well, you'll see in a second. So February 11th, I believe, is when the stream went live. Magic the Gathering was over on Twitch, and they discussed the recent changes to the Commander format. We're going to hear back from them on this format come April, late April, and I think that's sort of going to be the bigger announcement. Just a heads up, the thumbnail does tease one card that Gavin Verhey discussed as very much likely going to the Game Changer list, which we'll talk about in a second. If you didn't watch the stream, I'll encourage you to look that up, but there's a link to the article discussing everything. And of course, we're going to go over it today. But yeah, Coalition Victory. That's a game changer. The two other cards in the thumbnail, those are game changers too, and we'll discuss those in a second.
Maybe
yeah,
game changers.
There are many game changers.
We'll talk about them.
Yeah, and they stated on their stream that they weren't going to cover everything because, well, this is a beta essentially. The Commander Brackets system is in beta. They're going to feel everything out, and they're going to add more to the game changer list, but we'll get to that later. So, we want to cover the brackets with you guys today, discuss what this means for players and what this means for how we cover Commander content here on the channel. Any sort of clarifications we'd like to see. We can even just talk about what is here so far. There's an FAQ at the bottom of this page, which will likely answer most all of our questions. Anything that isn't answered, we'll hopefully get responses for soon. Wizard said they're watching these videos, so if you see this, hey, miss ya, love ya. We're gonna hopefully give you some sound advice from the perspective of cEDH players. And then after that, what we should do now. So if you haven't already jumped on the bandwagon of picking up every single banned card, we're going to discuss cards that will likely make their way onto the Game Changer list. Again, more on that later. And cards that will probably stay banned. But Will, do you want to cover, I guess, brackets for everybody, and I'll line everything up?
Yeah, to give the rundown for anyone who hasn't seen the stream or hasn't read the article, Wizards of the Coast has officially announced their new setup to allow players to communicate their deck power level for Commander. So if you're joining into an event, if you're hopping into a local game store for the first time, or if you're joining a play group for the first time, this is pretty much what's made for you. The new system is called Brackets, which we heard about a while ago. To sum up what it was initially discussed as, I think it was supposed to be 3 brackets, and they're going to develop card ban lists for each bracket, and it was going to be nothing like Canadian Highlander. And now we have 5 brackets, and their system is pretty much exactly like Canadian Highlander. And honestly, everyone was saying do it like Canadian Highlander. They listened, and it looks really good. They thought out pretty much everything very well, with like one notable exception. But
Ooh.
let's discuss what brackets are. So, the bracket system is broken into 5 different categories. Each category describes a different power level and what to expect from decks. Bracket 1 is the exhibition decks. They're the janky meme deck, like ladies looking left tribal, stuff like that. It's supposed to be wacky, funny decks. And the kind of rules for an exhibition deck, or the limiting describers, however you want to say it, because it's not hard rules, is 1, no mass land denial, which I'll go into what that means in a second.
Yeah.
2, or extra turns. 3, no 2-card combos. 4, no game changers, which I'll go into what those are after going into everything else, because we'll kind of describe everything first and then go into game changers. And finally, few tutors, which, to give a definition to that, because Mox Field has given an actual definition to that, few means 3 or less.
Right.
So for your exhibition deck, you're not running things that are going to make your turns take super long, and you're not running tutors or ridiculously powerful cards, which is my rough definition for game changers before we get into it. Core, which is bracket 2, it is more or less the same thing, but it is described as precon power level. It's the same power level as precons, and the only major difference between this and bracket 1 is no chaining extra turns. You can still run extra turns, you just can't chain them together.
Yeah. The other important thing to note here, they were talking about core, and during the discussion, they noted that there are variances in power levels for commander decks throughout the ages. Like the most recent Modern Horizon commander decks are probably going to be a little bit stronger than the typical core list, and they're, again, aware of that. The goal moving forward is, with this sort of language built out, that they can make commander pre-constructed decks that might be like bracket 3. Oh, they'll say like, oh, this is B4, or this is going to be B2, so you have an idea of what you're getting into, and that if you were going to play locally and your expectation was to play in bracket 2, said deck would be good for that.
And just for those who haven't watched the stream, one of the things that Gavin said, which kind of perfectly describes the expectation very well, is if somebody says they're playing a bracket 3 deck, that means it's usually going to be a deck that can play and beat bracket 2 decks, bracket 3 decks, and bracket 4 decks. It can beat the adjacent brackets, theoretically. Yeah. Which, as you know, people have brought high-power decks into cEDH gameplays and have won, so bracket 4 can play into bracket 5, which, spoiler alert, high-powered cEDH are bracket 4 and bracket 5.
Yeah. Optimized now. Optimized.
Yeah. Bracket 3 is upgraded. Now, this is your usual pre-constructed deck, but with your upgraded cards, you take out like the worst 15 cards and add in the best 15 cards that play into your strategy. And the change for this is you are allowed late game 2-card combos. So, sorry about that. That is a timer. I'm gonna have to hop out for like a second in a bit. But you can run late game 2-card combos. So you can run like I can't think of like a good one off the top of my head.
Oracle, Demonic Consultation.
No. That's
not like infinite. That's just win on the spot. But I get you. You mean like Leon and Relic? That's not even 2-card.
Yeah, it's not a cEDH one. It's not one that you'd usually see in like cEDH. It's like significant cost reduction in Spine of Ishna, Spine with something. Weird things like that would be like this card plus this card, but you need like 12 mana to do it. And then they also allow for 3 game changer effects.
Did they clarify what late game means? I think, oh, you know what? Never mind. I think they mean like anything from turn 7 beyond. So then you can feel free to rip that 2-card combo if you have it.
Yeah. I think a decent one is like Aggravated Assault plus the dragon that makes 6 mana when it attacks.
There you go. Or like Aggravated Assault and Neheb, something like that.
Yeah. And still no land denial and still no chaining extra turns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then for the last 2, they are basically the same thing, but the main difference is mindset. You have bracket 4, which is optimized. Anything goes. Mass land denial, chaining extra turns, any number of game changer cards, and any number of infinite combos. And bracket 5 is cEDH. the main difference between the two is mindset when building the deck. In bracket 4, you are going to be playing your best cards, but you're still playing for fun and enjoyment. For bracket 5, you are playing
No more
purely to make
fun.
a deck purely to be as efficient as possible and try to
Yeah.
win the game. And I'm going to quickly do a thing, and then I will be back in a minute, and we can discuss brackets and our thoughts on it.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably chat with you guys a little bit on this. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that whooping people is part of the fun for me. Let me know where you guys stand on fun and how it lands in each category. Is fun an equivalent factor for you? I feel like I don't make as much time for games as I'd like to these days, but when I do, the goal is to have fun. I did play second recently in a online tournament, 64 players. Don't ask me how I lost. And that was all fun. I was shooting the shit with everyone I played with. I was playing a hyper efficient deck, and I still did well, and I still had fun. The thing is, I don't think competitive means it's bereft of fun. But so far as these brackets are concerned, it's interesting that Optimize and cEDH are so different. It sounded like what they were trying to break down here is that you're using more cards that are tailored towards the meta than you would so with your optimized list, where you might have a pet card or two that isn't necessarily as valuable in a competitive setting because it doesn't have as many applications. But the thing is, I feel like when I started building competitively, the pet cards don't make for fun play experiences if they don't perform as well as they should. So I kind of immediately went to bracket 5 as I got into higher power competitive play. I don't really see a difference there, but that's neither here nor there. It's the bottom brackets, I think, that are the most important, and maybe what we could build for in the future. I do think that also when we discuss tier list on this channel, we'll have to revise how we look at legendaries. Obviously, if a legendary happens to be in a precon, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will only ever be a bracket 2 legendary. It may have bracket 5 potential. So we'll find a new way to break that down so that everyone's on the same playing field. And it's more about your deck construction, moreover, than strictly the legendary. Unless the legendary is Nadu and is truly worth being banned.
I honestly agree. We may want to rotate the tier list to brackets instead, where it's like bracket 1 is all the like meme things that you'd only play specifically for the fun of just playing weird oddity. Bracket 2 is like something that can be played but isn't too great, and then so on.
Yeah.
And then, granted, that would break the fun of like finding the one S tier card in a set, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, that still gives us the option of finding the one B5 tier card in the set, I suppose. But one thing to note with the exhibition, and even in their description, and I say Gavin's description of the B2 and B3, when it says no mass land denial, that also means no.
it means no effects like Armageddon or
Winter
Ruination
Orb
or
or.
Thunder, but then also Winter Orb or
Right.
Blood Moon. Nothing
Yeah.
that makes so lands only tap for a color or lands don't untap or
Right.
destroy 4 more
Thank
lands.
you. It's more
The
than just destruction. It's more than just
yeah,
destruction, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, the key term mass implies 4 or more is what Gavin said. So
Yeah.
if it
I
affects
think
4 more lands, then it is a no-go.
Thank you. I think they even describe it here, like Blood Moon, Sunder, Winter Orb, stuff like that.
And I guess before we go super in depth into our thoughts on brackets, we should probably hop over to game changers, and we can discuss that.
Yeah. So, Game Changers, they had a little list. I think it's a 40 cards, and they've organized it by color as well as multicolor and colorless. These are cards that.
It's the restricted list. That is the fastest and most accurate term I've heard.
Yeah.
It is the list of cards that are restricted to a specific amount that you can run in the deck. However, they're still completely legal and not banned.
Right.
They're just limited for bracket's sake.
And I think, moreover, we don't want to have any surprise bans happen again. So having an official list that's like dedicated to cards that are being watched for potentially being banned is a good thing, or being potentially moved off this list. So all these game changers, to what how I understand it and how they described it is that these are cards that you can only have X amount of in a list, depending on your bracket, and are up for potentially being banned. So there are no feel bads if you lose the potential of using that Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale that you saved up for, or are thinking of buying, right? So this alleviates some of the feel bads of finding out that your Mana Crypt is no longer playable, like that, right? It would actually be on a list. So it's 2 stages, like Will was saying. But yeah,
And there's a very rare chance that cards may completely skip the game changer list and go into ban, but that is likely new cards that become a massive problem, like Nadu. That is the specific one that was name
yeah.
dropped as, yeah, no, Nadu would not go on the game changer list. It would go straight to ban. It was messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And they do have a panel that is like observing the power levels of these cards, so hopefully they do a good job of categorizing and figuring this out on the spot. I think a lot of this amounts to play testing and working out this list prior to release, you know? They need to suss this out before we just get slapped with a ban. Because
Yeah.
that sucks. But yeah, we can go over each individual color if we want and discuss some of these choices. Obviously, you know, I think starting with the legendaries and multicolor might be a good spot, but then we can go through Wooburg. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, we can do multicolored then Wooburg after
Because
that.
frankly, and we, you know, if you guys forget what the cards are, we can like go down here and look at them. But Kinnan Bonder Prodigy is actually a pain in a cEDH setting. I can't say how he is in other settings, but as it stands
Just
right
as
now,
bad.
yeah, right,
Just as
with the
bad.
because with the recent bans of Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt, acceleration is like slowed down quite a bit, but there are a few legendaries that get by just fine and work just as efficiently, and Kinnan's one of them. Uh, so it kind of puts him in an unfair playing field with other legendaries, so I can see why he might be here. But these other ones, like Yuriko Tiger Shadow, not that big of a deal in a competitive setting. Winona Joiner of Forces, really, again, not that big a deal. And Grand Arbiter Augustine, if you've never seen this guy, I don't blame you. He is just a
He's the
tax for your
tax
opponent.
man.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
tax man. Right, so I would say one of the four I rightly understand. But the other three,
The other three are more so in there because they are brutal and casual. For Grand Arbiter, for Augustine the Fourth,
right.
it just makes it so that people can't play the game as easily while you're getting a stupid amount of value. And if you ever see Augustine the Fourth, you're probably going to think, oh, they don't have a way to win the game. They're just going to stacks out the game and then make this a 30 or
Right.
40 turn game that's miserable.
I do think that's the bigger issue with him for sure. And like that's one of the things they mentioned when they brought up the brackets. They don't it sounds like they care more about people waffling about with their turns and not like having 20-minute turns more so than finishing the game. I think everyone can agree on getting more games in is more fun. Long games can be fun, but I don't know. Maybe you've seen some of our live streams. Shit can go long sometimes, and I got to tell you, it's not. It's not really fun. It's not really fun to be like dragged through the the stacks snow of one of your opponents. It's kind of painful. So I can understand that, I suppose, just a little bit more. I
Uh,
haven't seen a Grand Arbiter Augustine the Fourth in a while, though. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
it's not too problematic in cEDH, but it's more problem in casual than anything.
Yeah.
But speaking of non-fun and non-interactive Winota, kind of a similar degree, the issue with Winota and casual is Winota gets going, gets a ton of value very quickly, and counterspells are completely irrelevant. And because counterspells are completely irrelevant against Winota, Winota just builds in all of the Shroud and all of the Hexproof and all of the protection tools, and Winota just becomes an annoying commander that says, okay, I have 8 stacks effects in play. Pass turn. I'm just going to be punching you down. If somebody plays a board wipe, cool. I'll rebuild everything, and then we're stacked out for
So
several turns, and I'm just punching you down again.
my thought
Winota is
is
more so a problem because it's annoying.
I like how you named counter spells because like the one thing that people should run more of, and they don't, is removal. And that takes care of Winota pretty easily. Like, well, I don't know, last time I had to face a Winota, it wasn't such a big deal. And if it was a big deal, I think those blue players would run Stifle, right? Or any sort of stifling effect. You
But
know, and like
you're
it can, it can snowball. You're right about that. It can definitely snowball, and it's not inefficient. But again, things like Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt being gone do slow down the progress of that list quite a bit.
But you're
Because
thinking of
Boros
it from
isn't,
a cEDH perspective. All
yeah.
of the game changer effects are bracket 3 and below. They're not even high power.
Well,
It's irrelevant.
Winota is going to be your one of 3 game changers in your upgraded deck, right? So
Yeah,
it does help balance it a little bit more. I believe Canadian Highlander is a little bit more nuanced in their point system, whereas this is just, you know, X amount of game changers, right?
they wanted to make it straightforward for the sake of you pick up the format, you know the ban list and the game changer list, and then you're good. You don't even need to know the game changer list theoretically,
Mm.
because most of the time, if you're building your first deck, you probably only run like one, maybe 2 game changers, and then
Maybe I feel like
for
Ancient Tomb, the One Ring, some of these cards you're gonna want to throw in there just because they're cool and efficient. And Ancient Tomb isn't very expensive ramp. Do you know what I mean? You
yeah,
might
but if you're new to the game, you're probably not running the most efficient stuff. You're just running things that are big and fun and whatever you have in your collection.
maybe I guess it depends on the player. When I got into this game, I feel like I bought like 4 copies of everything. Like I got all the mana vaults I could find. I got all of the soul rings I needed. I got all of the Sensei's tops I wanted. At the time, it was a more favorable card, but yeah, I had like dupes of everything for every list. All like the generically valuable cards, Ancient Tomb, stuff like that. So it's funny because like a lot of cards I bought 4 of when I got into this game are on this list. But maybe that's just because I don't know.
You're try hard, Patrick.
I look for this shit. I don't know. Like I try harder than the average upgraded player, I guess. I didn't buy 4 of Survival of the Fittest. I had one of those. But we can go
Uh,
through this list in Wooburg order now to get a.
well, last is just Yuriko. Yuriko is
Oh,
just a very devastating burn commander. Like Yuriko can very easily deal like 20 damage in
yeah.
one turn
I do
to
think
everybody.
I do think Will is right though that a majority of the things that probably make it on the game changer list are going to be to hopefully curb unfun or bad feels in lower brackets. Because again, when it comes to cEDH, I don't, you know, there shouldn't be any feel bads. You should all be of the same mindset. It's not like none of these are issues necessarily. But
To
it's
give
like
the
it's like
perfect example, Drannith
Iona.
Magistrate and why people hate Drannith Magistrate in casual, but if you throw Drannith out on turn 1 in cEDH, people are just like, dang, that's something I have to play against now.
Yeah, no, that or they rejoice because they're like, oh shit, my list moves slowly anyways. It's funny how the reactions can be so varied. And again, we're approaching this from the optics of cEDH players. So, you know, if you play casually or if you play more mid-tier, high-powered, please let us know. I know everyone has a different naming convention. I'm going to start operating with what Wizards has prescribed. So just these brackets. But let us know where you fall bracket wise. I'd be interested to hear. And which of these cards you think deserve or don't deserve to be on the game changer list. And we'll get into why some of these are here. They expressly stated why. But things like Drannith Magistrate can lend to some feel bads. I think in a more casual setting. But like I was saying, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times, depending on who I'm facing, like if they're all turbo decks, then maybe it feels bad. But like denying Timna Crom, like its draw potential, I like that. I like that. I'm sure they hate it, but I feel like everyone else at the table appreciates it. Hopefully, they got their commanders out prior. Enlightened tutors in general, things that homogenize the game, using Gavin's words. Uh, those were put on this list because they don't want every game to feel linear, right? It's like it's Commander at its heart is a casual format. So things like this that make your 99 card deck more like 87 on a good day. Like I'm really only aiming to see so many of these cards every single game, right? It just it in a competitive setting, when I see efficient cards like that, it just means I can set up play lines more easily, right? And we're all working towards a win. We all have different strategies to get there. In a casual setting, Enlightened Tutor, I mean, is that a big feel bad for you? Like the kid grabbing his soul ring? I don't know. It's interesting because there are efficient tutors that are still left in the game. Like in white, you have Steel Shaper's Gift, but it's more narrow than, say, Artifact or Enchantment, right? So this being on a game changer list, I think makes sense for 3 and under. How do you feel about that one?
I agree. Any of the 1 mana tutors should go on the game changer list just because saying I find the big dumb bomb card in my deck consistently is brutally annoying for casual players, especially for 1 mana at instant speed, which there's 2 tutors that should probably be on this list that aren't, and we'll discuss them as we get to the colors that would be relevant for them. But going to Drannith Magistrate, yeah, Drannith Magistrate's just there because it shuts off entire deck archetypes of I built around my commander. That's not fun for people who are trying to build tier 1 or tier 2. People who build into tier 3 probably have enough removal to deal with it, which is why it's perfect in a bracket, or perfect in a game changer.
Yeah.
But
Did you want
the last 3 are kind of in the same pool here. Sarah
yeah.
Sanctum, Smothering Tithe, and Trouble in Pairs kind of all do the same thing, but in different directions. Sarah Sanctum lets you ramp from however much mana to 3 or 4 more out of nowhere. It's not that fun just because in the format where everybody is either ramping 1 a turn or 2 a turn at some cost, just saying, oh, ramp by 4 in 1 turn with no cost hurts a good deal.
Can I just say, is Sarah's Sanctum, if I were forced to have 3 of these game changers, Sarah's Sanctum's probably the lowest on this list for me. Even in a cEDH setting, it's, unless you're doing specifically Enchantment Tribal, like, it's not a good card. Not in the same way that Guy's Cradle is just really efficient in most casual decks, because it's, I feel like more casual settings are very creature heavy, so like that is inherently going to generate you mana. But unless some of those things are enchantresses, right, that happen to be enchantment creatures, things like a Sarah Sanctum just aren't that effective. I understand why it's here. It's just it's not a great card.
Yeah, I would say a good way of thinking about this list is, do you think that this card is fair to play against a precon deck? That is probably the best way to think of a game changer list, because you can play these cards against upgraded decks, but you specifically cannot play them against precons or weaker. So Sarah Sanctum is like kind of a big jump for something for precons to deal with. So I think it's
I think he was
reasonable to be
saying,
here.
like, ultimately though, and I don't want to, I think during the stream he was saying, like, yeah, the brackets, the way it should work out is that the brackets, like, should be able to play below and above, like, cut below and above themselves. In that, in
like a bracket 2 should be able to deal with a bracket 3.
right. But the language is there to that, players that are just getting into the game should hopefully be able to go to a tournament setting or just a game store to play casually and hopefully find a group to play with. But then again, they also prefaced all of this by saying that, you don't need to listen to any of this, so don't even worry about it. Which, I don't know, kind of flies in the face of this whole thing, but it's whatever. let's just be consistent. I mean, like, when you manage every other format, you might as well just, like, take the reins and say you're gonna, people should be doing it this way. But again, that sort of is what Commander is. Again, it's casual setting, so you should be able to just do what the hell you want. But I think specifically for, like, sanctioned events, I think you should just follow the brackets, people. But on that note,
I'm very happy though, just because the whole point of this is get everybody on the same page. Because if everybody kind of agrees, okay, these cards are the really powerful cards, which I feel like they did a decent job for the game changer list, where if you see these cards in your casual game, your response is usually, come on, man. Unless you are also playing the strong stuff. But Smothering Tithe and Trouble in Pairs, they're both just cards that kind of punish players for playing the game by giving the person who controls it ridiculous value. Trouble in Pairs, I have not seen anybody use, but I've been told that it's a very good card in casual, so I will stand by that.
Smothering Tithe, I see. It's interesting as we move to blue here. Smothering Tithe, less so these days. Trouble in Pairs, not really ever. I bought a copy and I just have it just to have it. But as we get to blue, it's interesting because there's a card called Mystic Remora that I find a little troublesome. So far as, like, cards that are imbalanced, I feel like that's one of them, even though it has a upkeep cost. Whereas we do see a card on here, Ristic Study, that I feel like a lot of tables work around pretty easily, at least in a cEDH setting. But then again,
That that's the funny thing, because the reason why Mystic Remora is such a good card is because it is played in cEDH. Uh, Mystic
casually, I
Remora
guess, casually
will come
with
out
all the
on like
creatures.
turn, yeah, because if you play Mystic Remora turn 1 in cEDH, that's fantastic. You may keep a hand just because you have a turn 1 Mystic Remora. But
Right.
if you play Mystic Remora in casual, no one does anything turn 1. So you don't draw anything turn 1. Then turn 2, you might draw one card. Then turn 3, you might draw 1, 2 cards. And then turn 4, you're starting to draw like 2, 3 cards a turn. But
Mm-hmm.
at turn 4, you have now paid like, what is that, like 9 mana for Mystic Remora in total? It's one
Huh.
for one, two, one for two, uh, then two more for 4 on turn 3, then 3 more for 7 on turn 4. So
I think it's
it's
good that they're keeping this very casually minded. It's just interesting seeing some of these cards because like I just never see them. But yeah, you're
yeah,
absolutely right. It's interesting seeing how these impact a more casual setting than they do. Because for me, if I could have it my way, I wouldn't have anything banned, right? I mean, I kind of just want to open the floodgates and just do
I,
do.
I want some things banned
That's
because
fair.
I
There, I
am
think.
fully aware that Time Vault is going to be a monster if
Oh,
it's ever unbanned.
I would love that. I would love that in my life. Um,
But to group blue in like kind of concise groups, Cyclonic Rift, Force of Will, Fierce, and Fierce Guardianship are kind of on the list just because they're hyper efficient removal. They are the best removal cards in the game. Chain of Vapor may be on there as well, but Chain of Vapor is honestly a little bit more fair and casual.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Expropriate and I'll put Thassa's Oracle in there. Expropriate, Thassa's Oracle, and Jin-Gitaxias are in there because they're just feel bad cards. Expropriate just saying, okay, I'm taking an extra turn and taking everybody else's best stuff. Jin saying everybody discard down to nothing, and Thoracle sometimes just saying, game.
Yeah.
Thoracle is just disgusting. Um, and
Yeah,
then finally
it's
the hyper value cards of Heuristic Study, Urza, and Mystical Tutor. Mystical Tutor giving you consistency, Urza being a commander that's just a very dumb card, or being a super powerful card in the 99 of an artifact deck. And then Heuristic Study being the most abusable draw card in the entire game.
yeah, at a low CMC, very castable, very splashable. Yeah, it makes sense. Jin Gitaxias is a pain, I think, in a more casual setting, but with that new legendary, then I just talked about it. Asheton,
Yeah, Hashiton.
do some Jin things with that. As I've mentioned on the other lives with you, I play spread mostly on what now would be bracket 4. Huh. I feel like my list is probably bracket 4, like the list I gravitate towards. I mean, that depends on what they unban. And we should note that there's going to be more added to the Game Changers list come late April. So when a card, if a card does get unbanned, such as Coalition Victory, which was suggested in the stream, it's going to make its
We'll
way
get into
here.
that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
It'll make its way here first. We could summarize these categories a little bit more effectively, like you just did, Will. I think it's easy to rope everything Will said about blue. Simple, factual. Mystical Tutor, same story as Enlightened Tutor. But moving on to black, it's the same story. The DT, Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor, hyper efficient, homogenize the game. Bolas' Citadel is, I guess, more or less in the same camp as Ad Nauseam. Obviously, we see Ad Nauseam more often than not, but Bolas' Citadel is used in a handful of lists. And again, I say we, as in competitive players. I could see these both being annoying in a casual setting. I feel like Ad Nauseam, maybe not as much, because you probably have a high curve. So how much you're
Well,
popping off with that is, yeah,
in
maybe in a Lurus list. I don't know. Like,
in casual, draw like 20 is still pretty good, and if you're playing Ad Nauseam in a casual list, you probably run very low to the ground stuff.
mhm.
So Ad Naus is still Ad Naus even in casual.
It's funny
And
that with all the tutors that are on this game changer list, that opposition agent is also on this game changer list because there are a ton of. I find them to be game changers, but like fetch lands, there's a ton of fetch lands that just aren't on here, and I'm happy that we're into efficient, like, land bases. But it's funny that Opposition Agent is sort of in here solely for the cards that are in here.
Well, Opposition Agent is in here because it brutalizes 1,000,001 strategies. If you have a commander that needs to search out specific stuff like Godo, you're dead.
That's
If you're
okay. I don't mind. Godo doesn't need to find shit. Godo doesn't need to find a damn
and
thing.
my casual
Yeah.
Godo deck is a Blade of Selves deck. I just want to
Yeah.
tutor all of the equipments out of my deck.
No, I can't.
But it also ruins land tutors like Rampant Growth and stuff like that. Just get shut off, which is another one of the main reasons.
Well,
why
no, shut up for you. I want your lands. I'm
Yeah,
paying
well, you
just
get my
as
lands
much.
in exile. It's just your land per turn. But it is in there just because it feels horrible to play against, even if you're not running 1,000,001 tutors. If you're just ramping, it can wreck you, which sucks.
That's
and
interesting.
Turgid, similar ideology.
I want you
to discard stuff and steal.
I want you to remember your feelings on Opposition Agent while we talk about the banned list and our expectations of things that might get unbanned. But
it's great segue, because Opposition Agent and Turgid and everything are kind of the reasons why I said to you before the stream what I thought, because it kind of perfectly lines up where there's a lot of cards that are currently on the ban list for reasons why Opposition Agent is on the Game Changer list.
Yeah, but vice versa. I feel like some of the other ones are a little bit more damning though. But Turgid, I've never had to deal with. I think we had one stream on the channel in the past where someone played a Turgid list, and it was dope.
It did some things, yeah.
Mono black is like tricky though. It's outside of Crick, or I guess, are there cEDH players still?
There's cEDH, Varga. What's his name?
Varga, yeah. Varga.
The guy that's Vampiric Tutor for 1 in the black if you attack this turn. Vargoth. But Vargoth, cEDH, and Crick. Those are the only mono black commanders that I can think of that people actually play in cEDH. Turgid's there just because Turgid feels horrible to play against in casual. I can say that as a casual player. It just feels unfun because Turgid's like, oh, gonna take that, gonna burn all of your entire game plan away while taking your entire game plan.
Yeah,
I'm just running disruption and healing your crap.
Yeah, I have not. Here's Turgid. She is mono black, but I'll just have her on the screen. And iterate. Does that cover black? Do we cover?
That covers black.
Yeah, black's pretty easy. Just efficient stuff.
Say two things though. Here into the Abyss and Razageth should probably be on black. Just like how Enter the Infinite should probably be in blue, because they're cards that just say play me, end the game. And I feel like those should all be on the Game Changer list, just so that the pre-con decks don't have to say play counterspell or bust.
Yeah, we're not on the panel, Will.
We're not on the panel.
I don't know what to tell you, but I don't disagree, because Razageth's been a menace for a very long time. You know, not in the same way as...
He's a fair menace, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, you need to sacrifice a little bit to gain a lot. It's not so bad.
Yeah.
But moving on to red, it's funny. Someone said, is red the worst color because it has the least banned things during the stream? And I've always felt red has been in a real shit spot, but this does sort of solidify it. You know, Dockside was such a boon. Underworld Breach, amazing. Jessica's Will, we all love it. It's good early. It's so late, but it's still value. This falls...
Deflecting Swat's the only thing that's slipping through the cracks.
Yeah, I think they forgot. Deflecting Swat's very, very good. And it's like a card you use in every deck that contains red. It's one of those cards like REB. If you're in blue, then even if you are in blue, Pyroblast and REB are still good choices. But Jessica's Will is one of those things. I feel like it's not as potent as, like you were saying, Deflecting Swat, but I do think red needs more hyper efficient, decent ways of interacting on the stack, and it's like one of its only ways, sadly. I agree though that Underworld Breach in tandem with some of these other game changers, looking at you, LED, No Wheel of Fortune in sight, is really good. It's really, really good. So I can understand why that's on the Game Changer list, and it probably needed to be on a list like this for some time, if I'm being honest with you.
And I just want to say, Gamble should probably be on the Game Changer list.
Yeah, so far as efficient tutors, I think the luck aspect gave it a pass, perhaps. But you're absolutely right. It's the same thing, more or less, as like a DT, right? Except one less, and then the probability of turning it into a, what am I trying to say? Entomb, right? So, Entomb?
Into
Wait, yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. There's a certain level of consistency here. Again, they said they kept it short, but I think they're going to give us a far more in-depth list again come April. Hopefully, when they've determined banned, like what stays banned, what becomes banned, and then what comes off that banned list. Any other thoughts on Red?
Not a lot. For green, green is actually pretty straightforward because they really did just hit the main green cards that people don't like. Survival of the fittest lets you set things up in a really stupid and easy way. Warrenclex is just a decent value engine, but it hurts like crap to play against.
Sure.
And then Guy's Cradle is Guy's Cradle, screw Guy's Cradle.
Yeah.
I have a mono green land deck, and I'm saying screw Guy's Cradle.
It's interesting, the 2-card combos they referred to in bracket 3, I mean, a lot of them could be built off of the back of Food Chain. And I guess we're pretty chill with Food Chain right now. So
Yeah, Food Chain is specifically not on the Game Changer list because it's kind of covered under 2-card infinites.
yeah.
So you can't play like Food Chain and Squee the Immortal because that's just a hyper easy and efficient setup 2-card combo.
But late game 2-card combos.
Yeah, but that's not a late game 2-card combo. Playing a
Prosh,
3-mana card that gives you mana and then a 3-mana card that you can play from anywhere is.
But what if you're not on? What if you're not on Squee? What if you're not on any of that? The Scourge. What if you're just on Prosh and Food Chain? That's a late game 2-card combo, right?
Prosh is the dragon, right?
Yeah, he's the cruel dragon.
That is not a late game combo because at
He's
that
like 5
point,
mana.
it's your commander in the command zone, Food Chain, and then anything in play that you can exile the player commander. That's like a turn 3 win with like no ramp.
Diego, I agree. So far as commenting on the size of this game changer list, like I would prefer it be as small as possible, and the ban list to be even smaller. I think it's also an issue for casual and new players that the large list makes deck building harder for those scenarios. It's interesting because the person, I don't know his name, but the gentleman that was interviewing Gavin, who's on a lot of streams, he's done a lot of stuff for Wizards. He was sort of framing it as exciting to be able to structure list more, like tailor his list specifically for brackets, or like, he'll realize he only has one game changer in a bracket 3 list and he could very effectively make it a bracket 2 list by just playing more towards the theme or whatever. So I mean, I don't know if that's how everyone's going to feel or how new players are going to feel, but then again, like the golden rule where they said you could just throw this information out if you want and do whatever you want, that also exists, right? Because I mean, you're buying the product, do whatever the hell you want with it, right?
Yeah, and the whole point of this is just you're hopping into a new play group and you can be like, my list is about bracket 3. Like it's an upgraded precon, roughly.
Yeah.
Around that power level. So it's just here for new people hopping into the game, and they are assuming that you are going to have conversations with your play group so that you can just be like, hey, can you not run Rhystic Study in every single deck? Because that just feels like crap to play against.
Do you guys like Trinity Sphere?
Yeah.
What are your feelings on Trinity Sphere? Everything Will said about green is accurate. We touched on multicolor, and colorless is pretty easy, dude.
One thing for green, because this is a card they brought up, and I disagree with them, which is Worldly Tutor. Worldly Tutor is not on the green ban list because they said that the other tutors are more flexible and diverse. Enlightened Tutor gets an artifact or an enchantment. Blue gets instants or sorceries. Green gets creatures, just creatures. So they felt that in Worldly Tutor was more balanced because it had a more limited pool to search from.
That's like 70% of the casual deck.
Well, yeah, I'm like, your best cards are usually creatures.
Right. Depending on the setting, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think in a cEDH setting, like you could argue that the One Ring is probably one of the best cards in your deck if you play it. So something like Enlightened Tutor makes sense.
Yeah. But I think Worldly Tutor should probably be on the list because also that just kind of completes the whole chain of ban the instant speed top decks.
Exactly. Yeah. Enlightened, Mystic, and Worldly.
Ban.
Right, in Vamp. Which I guess Red doesn't have one in that cycle.
Correct, because red is supposed to be like the impulsive color, and all these are like, I'm gonna prepare for later tutors, so red does no preparation.
Damn. Okay. All right. If that's on theme for red, and it's kind of sad to think about though. I just realized red doesn't have a top deck tutor, and they
Yep.
never will. All right. Colorless will. Mana efficient things. I see a lot
Yeah,
of them on this
thankfully
list.
these fit into like two categories with one exception.
Who's
And it's
breaking out Mox Diamond in a casual setting? Can I just say, who's got Mox Diamond in a casual
the guy
setting?
who's not being invited to the next game night. That's
Yeah,
who.
so is it a problem? Is it an actual problem? Because, like, you're rolling up with, like, super mana efficient shit. I don't know. Like, I feel like if you're throwing in all of those cards, like, if you've got the trifecta, the Mox, the Diamond, like, and I guess one of the other Moxen isn't on here, the Opal, right? If you have a dense enough amount of artifacts, then you're maybe not playing casually. Like if you're trying to like do your fun thing really quickly, I don't know. It still doesn't feel casual to me.
Also, really quick for something that Diego said in
Don't
chat.
ban Mox Diamond, please. By the way.
Also, late game can be arguable, and the brackets are and brackets is abusable. It wouldn't. I wouldn't, but I could build a Joyra Weatherlight deck on bracket one, 100% unfun for everybody.
Hmm?
So here's the thing. Bracket one implies that you are making a joking deck, like a joke that, or a deck that is just supposed to be like a stupid, fun, gimmicky concept. It's not like a specific ban list. The bans are the limitations that they put are part of what makes bracket one. So by the word of the limitations, yes, you can make a Joyra deck that's bracket one, but the deck is in no way, shape, or form bracket one, because if you're just making a Joyra deck that is low cost artifacts and cost reduction,
Yeah.
you're making a hyper efficient upgraded deck, which would make it bracket three or bracket four. So Joyra would not be bracket one pretty much ever, unless you're doing like Weatherlight Tribal. That's probably a Joyra deck that's bracket one.
Yeah. Or
But
no, this is Joyra Weatherlight Captain. This is the one that draws off of
the draw, yeah,
historics or artifacts, just artifacts, right?
historics.
Yeah, she feels pretty turned.
You
What if you
are
do
not
no?
making an artifact Joyra that's
What if you
bracket one. You can
do?
make that bracket two,
What if you
yeah.
do artifactless Joyra?
Yeah, like whether like tribal or like Saga Joyra or something like
Why would
that.
you?
Yeah, you could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you would never pick her though. But yeah,
Yeah, but that could be bracket one. Bracket two is precon level, any deck that's about the power level of precon. Bracket three is anything that's upgraded precon. Bracket four is no holds barred but not cEDH, and bracket five is cEDH. Yeah, Saga Joyra. Saga Joyra would be a perfect example of a bracket one
that's
deck.
cool. That's cute. Yeah,
And I'm gonna go back to the bracket system because after we're done with the game changers, I want to go back to brackets to talk about details now that we have an understanding of what game changers are. But
yeah.
quickly to finish off game changers, Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox, Brim Monolith, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Diamond, and Mana Vault are just the hyper efficient mana sources. They're kind of feels bads because they ramp you out of nowhere for very little to no cost.
Glacial
Um,
Chasm.
you have a Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, Trinisphere, and Glacial Chasm, which are just the wow, I can't do anything. To me, I guess, cards. They're
Mhm.
not fun to play against. And then finally, the One Ring. It's the colorless powerhouse. It's a good card.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, these are all fairly obvious. The colorless cards. I don't know. I think that these can happily stay on the game changer list. I think they should certainly be limited in other settings or restricted from use. But in cEDH setting, we want all of these. We want all of these. Decks are tailored towards leveraging these to the best effect. So happy to see them. But yes, now with game changers in mind, we can sort of revisit our bracket system here.
Yeah. Now we can give our thoughts on brackets, and then after we can go about all the implications of the game changer list, like you were talking about with Coalition Victory. But
Right.
first, what do you think of brackets, Patrick?
I think these are fine. I honestly feel like, oh boy, I feel like you could just have 4 brackets or maybe even less. I mean, I feel like competitive, high powered and competitive, I know we like as much variance as possible, but I've seen high powered lists, like you were saying, beat competitive lists, and obviously vice versa. I don't think, if it's just a state of mind, I feel like those players are both trying to do the same thing, and their decks are literally able to be constructed in the same way. I think that optimized in cEDH could just be one bracket. Like, because frankly, I feel like a lot of people are going to walk up and be like, oh yeah, this is bracket 4, and still be in competitions and or playing with bracket 5 players. And really bracket 5, just this is the ultimate in try hard, if you're suggesting that earlier, Will. I don't know that more focused mindset. Like, it's interesting because I play a lot of TCGs, and I feel like, you know, what is it, like a winner's mentality? What are they referring to? Like, I don't understand. Is it okay to play high powered casually over cEDH where there's no such thing as a casual game? Because I definitely ran a segment on this show called Brew Wars, which was just us playing cEDH decks, or maybe even high powered. I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. And drinking. Like, it's not, I don't know. If it's game time, if there are prizes on the line, sure, I'm focused. But I feel like I'm focused half the time anyways. So I
It's
don't.
more of the deck building mentality than how you're playing it out for the difference between optimized and
Well,
cEDH.
they're saying like cards that are more oriented towards the meta, and or like the highest power variants of everything you can run. But the thing is, I feel like high powered players do the exact same thing. They do the exact same thing. Maybe they're just using a less effective legendary in the CZ, and or just don't have all 5 colors at their disposal, right? Because I feel like cEDH for a time was littered with 4 to 5 colored good stuff, whereas nowadays, with the recent bans, that's changed a little bit. And so maybe,
Actually, it's still a whole lot of four-color good stuff,
yeah.
but
I mean, well, what's the big one? I mean, Rock Silas is only 3. You're in Grixis, but Grixis has always been
Rock
really
Sai is
good.
not considered the best of the best. The best of the best right now are Thrasios, Timna,
And that's
Timna
also been
Tom,
true.
and
But
Sisay.
that's also been true. And Sisay, ugh, how I feel about that. But it's funny.
But
The partners have been a problem ever since, and that's another set of legendaries that oddly didn't make that list down there. I know we
yeah,
didn't really. Yeah, so far as game changers are concerned, I think we've all agreed upon the partner pairs with Timna and Thrasios, that they have been an issue since those cards were printed, and they also get to skate by, which is really interesting. Um, yeah, they're just, all they are is highly effective draw engines that give you color. It's like, if I was going to say any design was unfun, it's that. It's not like Timna's encouraging you to put creatures out and attack. It's like, no, that's, you're not really trying to do anything else beyond draw the cards. Like, it didn't matter how that read. Like, you would just, you would do whatever the hell it said to draw cards. Uh,
Diego kind of summed up what I am going to be saying in a sec pretty
mm,
well. Where I believe 4 and 5 was made separate to recognize the meta, and you don't have or prevent a feeling of certain odd picks feeling like neither 3 or 5. So pretty much 4 is there to say, yeah, there's definitely a middle ground between an upgraded precon and cEDH. Just for instance, like Golos Eldrazi Tribal. That was a casual deck. That deck also pub stomped the ever loving crap out of every single person that I played against, including upgraded precon decks, and felt horrible to play against because it was just really strong. Even against like tier 3, but you'd never play that against tier 5.
you're suggesting that's high powered.
Yeah, that's like a pretty good example of bracket
Yeah, but I
4.
mean, they were just saying how bracket 4 should be able to punch up,
Yes,
right?
and like, but it's in that awkward space of bracket 4 is really a wide zone in my opinion,
I
because
feel,
there are bracket 4 decks that would utterly stomp bracket 3, but would not be able to scratch bracket
I
5.
would love
So
if someone in the audience could send me a list for what they feel is high powered, right? That you've made. And I would like to just compare the number of cards that are seen in a cEDH list and those that are not, and just get a percentage of difference. So I can actually like visualize and know, like, oh, 10% of these cards are different, or 5% of these cards are different, because odds are likely they're running the same lands, all the
I
same
got
instances.
I got you actually because I
Sure.
have several decks on Moxfield and a lot of them are more weirdly enough Moxfield's like you only build bracket 2 and bracket 4. So I have a million options for you.
I'll share a
Um
Shorakai deck I'd put as a 4. That's fair. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, okay, fine.
your Shortcut
I
deck?
guess
Your
no,
Shortcut deck's at a 5.
I would say that it's a 4, right? Because it's in Azorius, so you're obviously limited on like effective tutors and
Here
just
we go. Here is a bracket 4 deck for you.
no, that logic's to me. I mean, I play mono white in a competitive setting, so what do I know? But I I do think that niche commanders are ones that are limited within their role in the color pie, like the effective cards they can use, do frankly underperform, but can be built up well. Like I know people still love Heliod Suncrowned and Walking Ballista, like that's still a thing, and you know people would say that that's cEDH, but there are far and few that are monocolor that are effective. Like I don't really know that Urza is still played, but Godo is, and I play Oswald, so there's that. Um, sure, I think you could say optimize is just less efficient legendaries in less colors. That's how I would put it.
It's also like hyper efficient interactions without the hyper effective closers. So like instead of trying to win with like Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, I might build a Dimir deck that's built around like really hard mill. Like if
Mm.
I'm doing Thought Vessel and not Thought Vessel, the
Magda, thank you, Martin. On Moxfield, it shows what power brackets your decks are in. Oh
yeah,
shit. Oh wait.
that's
Well,
why I sent you the thing on
uh,
Discord because it marked it as a bracket 4 and I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
this is a bracket
So
4.
yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Are they operating off of a different list? What are they using to figure that? I know Architect, Moxfield, and Scryfall apparently will start having these brackets listed. So if you use those resources, you should expect to see those changes there.
Yeah,
Um,
they use it based off of like one, are you running game changer cards? So game changer is like a good way they can at least market between 2, 3, and 4 very easily.
mhm.
Because if you're running more than 3, it's bracket 4. If you're running 3 or less, it's like bracket 3, maybe bracket 2. If you're running none, it's bracket 2. And it is apparently very hard to get a bracket 1 deck because for some reason they're like nothing is bracket 1. But also as an example that they gave Dragon Tribal as an example of a bracket 1 deck.
Hmm.
And I'm like, my $7 Society deck is a bracket 2.
Oh shit. So well, no infinite combos, but I guess you're not doing that, right?
No infinite combos. I have, I think in my current version, I have Sylvanas' Invoker, which is Saya Sylvanas' Invoker and 8 forests in play to make infinite mana and make all my lands into 8/8s. But even taking that out of the deck, they're still like, it's bracket 2. And I'm like, no, it isn't.
You want to make it bracket 1, or you try to put it in cEDH where it
I'm trying to see why it isn't bracket 1, and they have not given me like a good reason. But I'm like, whatever. It's bracket 1 is hard to hit apparently, and bracket 5 is like wonky. A lot of cEDH decks are marked as bracket 4 right now.
That's fair.
Um,
I mean, again, I think that they're on a learning curve, so are we. I think upgraded is fine. I think the concept of a late game 2 card infinite combo might be lost on some people. Again, they were stating late game as 7, 8, 9 turns beyond 7 practically. I think having 3 game changers in there is probably good because frankly, you probably only need so many. And if you're going to do an upgraded deck, this is where I would focus on legendaries that have unique play styles, and this gives me an excuse to play more niche cards. So I like how Upgrade is set up. I will probably never touch Exhibition or Core, but those seem fine to me. And it's
yeah,
nice that they've just clarified like no mass land denial.
I want to point out, Patrick, you've never touched upgraded or optimized, but you have very specifically touched core. We've had 2
We've played
streams
Core.
online where you've played pre-con decks.
Those are fun though. Actually, I do like pre-con battles, those are fun to just work with whatever the hell is in your list, in like highly inefficient
Hon-
cards.
Honestly, you're down to play anything that is not exhibition.
I mean, I would even play exhibition, but like, the games are gonna go long.
Yeah.
You know the games are gonna go
My
really long.
$7 Society is technically exhibition. I don't care that they say it's bracket 2. We know it's bracket 1. Technically, my cEDH Society deck is bracket 1.
Do you like where these brackets are right now? Is there anything you would change?
My only issue is bracket 1, just because they haven't well defined like the real difference between bracket 2 and bracket 1. Because if you're saying like, oh, it's a joke deck, then it's like, well, it's a deck that's literally not designed to play the game. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even give that a bracket.
Yeah, I'm not sure that deserves it. They do break it down here. Throw down with your ultra casual commander deck. Winning is not primary goal here. Um, as it's more about showing off something unusual you've made. Villains yelling in the yard, everything has number 4, oops all horses, those are all fair game. The games are likely going to go long and end slowly. Just focus on having fun and enjoying what the table has brought.
Funny though, because Moxfield gave example decks to be like, oh, here's example of bracket 1 decks. They literally gave Temur Dragon Tribal as an example.
And
I'm like,
oops all horses was bracket 2.
well, no, it's Oops All Horses is probably still bracket 1, but I'm just like,
Well, let's test
they
this.
made a precon. They made a precon that was Dragon Tribal.
We should just have a couple of streams where we try to make exhibition 1 bracket 1 decks. My meme decks can win. I won with Zaxara, alliterative cards, only cards, a couple deck, only cards, alliterative only cards deck a couple weeks ago.
The thing is, you can win with exhibition decks, but you're not trying to win. The entire point of the deck is that you're not trying to win. You're trying to just be like, look here, fun me. And I'm like, that defeats the entire purpose of playing the game, though. Like, you can have the exact same amount of enjoyment if you just have somebody look through your deck.
Right.
So there's not a ton of point in playing it.
No, it is an odd category. I mean, I think it's cool. I think the point of any game, frankly, is to conclude it. Focusing on winning, I guess, is focusing on not winning is nice conceptually and just showing off the thing you enjoy. But I think you could show off the thing you enjoy and also try to conclude the game. I think that's okay. It is odd. The way it's set up is a little odd. I do agree. Exhibition is weird. Like, that's why we have trade binders and stuff. Like, if you just want to show off all your horses, just have your binder with you and show off all your horses. That's okay.
But my migraine of exhibition is just they don't know what they want it to be, because as examples they have it anywhere between ladies looking left tribal and dragon tribal.
Right.
That is such a massive birth, because there's a cEDH dragon tribal deck. Obviously, like, you're building it with the most optimized cards and a very limited set of combos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there is a Scion of the Ur-Dragon cEDH deck.
Will, can you actually do me a favor? I want to very quickly. So, I'm sorry. Can you send me a list of all the banned cards currently on Scryfall? Is that something you can
yes, I actually have that up on the side, so I'm already ahead of you.
Yeah, no, I
there you go,
that.
Scryfall tab.
All right, Will's face is going to change, and I just want you to not judge him. But guys, let me know if you're happy with the bracket system. Like, with where it's at now. Again, this isn't obviously where it's going to land. Will's back. This isn't where it's going to land ultimately, but they will be correcting it. I think as Chicago, Magic Fest Chicago happens, there's going to be a part of... I'm sorry, I'm also trying to do something here. A part of the command zone dedicated to beta testing these brackets. Obviously, they're going to be changing it as they roll into April, and in late April again, we should see cards move off the ban list, which I think brings us into our next segment. What do we do now, Will?
So if you want to play the clip that I sent you on Discord as well, you can, just so that people know kind of where what we're about to talk about is coming from.
Oh,
but Gavin discussed on the podcast that they are not guaranteed, but like 99.9% likely to unban cards and put them on the game changer list. And one very specific example that Gavin gave was Coalition Victory. So it is more likely than not that Coalition Victory is going to be unbanned after Chicago, and after they have a little bit of testing done on how the bracket system works. But he said late April. Late April is when they're going to do the next ban announcements, and they are more likely than not going to unban cards. So if you want to play the clip,
I don't have it prepped. Wait.
well, it's you can just hop on
What I
Discord
would-
and at least play the audio.
Well, I don't think they'll hear. Actually, they might hear.
Oh,
it.
they won't hear.
No, they might hear it. They might hear it. Wait.
I will open up the stream and see if they hear it.
No, I got you. Tell me if you can hear it.
You know, you can imagine a number of cards that are currently on the ban list that could potentially come off and go on here. I'll give one example, because I think it is maybe the safest one to give, is Coalition Victory, right? Coalition Victory is a card that maybe at a weak commander pod, it's kind of frustrating, the game ends out of nowhere, but if you're playing at a optimize or cEDH level, Coalition Victory is not going to cause too much of a problem, right? So you can imagine a number of cards could come down, and it creates this kind of half step.
People can hear it on stream.
I think they can. Could they?
Yep, I heard it start playing, so should be good. So the clip already played though, right?
Yeah. So guys, where does this leave us with the banned list right now? So I know we've already gone through this already as players. I know a lot of us, when the Commanders rules committee switched to being managed by Wizards of the Coast, a lot of people sort of speculatively bought banned cards that we suspected would potentially get unbanned. Now, with right out of the horse tribal's mouth, we found that there are cards that will certainly make it off the banned list to the game changer list. So, Will, I know you've already picked up, you picked up a while ago some cards you wanted to play with.
Yes, literally when they announced that Wizards of the Coast was taking over the mantle from the original RC,
Yeah.
I said, they're probably unbanning cards, and I bought a good handful of banned cards, including Coalition Victory and a couple others. I even picked up at least one Lutri, just because Lutri.
Yeah, so this is not financial advice. We did want to take a second to discuss some banned cards we feel will make it onto the game changer list, and you may want to potentially pick up. I think it's a fair discussion to have, especially if you want to stay current with the meta without breaking your wallet doing so. As we all know, this game can be very expensive to play. Like even standard versions of some cards can be $20 or more, and certainly a lot of these older reserve list cards or some of these cards that have minimal printing can be very expensive. So now would be the time to get some of these things. So I think it is worth discussing. I would love to hear what you guys think will migrate from the banned list to the game changer list, and hopefully with any luck that'll be the case. We're obviously going to skip over some things like Ancestral Recall, really any of the Power 9 artifacts. Things like that are likely going to stay banned because of their limited availability and their price. I think just accessibility of those cards is impossible, and they are used in, other formats. So
Unban the anti-cards, you cowards.
yeah. I want to play uncards. Can we do that? Just all the acorns, please. Unban Grizzlebrand.
I want to gain a life for every person I high-five in the next 30 seconds. Let's go.
Is Necropotence better than Grizzlebrand?
Debatable. Reason why is Grizzlebrand draws you the cards immediately, making a lot of other game plans faster.
But
like more functional.
If we unban Hull Breacher, is it a problem?
Probably still yes, but the reason why Grizzlebrand is still a problem is you just mill Grizzlebrand, reanimate Grizzlebrand, and then win immediately with no recourse, because you have about like a third to half of your deck in your hand, and then you either hit life gain or hit away to win the game, and then you just win at sorcery speed on your turn. Grizzlebrand is terrifying. But to go in order, we're going to hit Grizzlebrand later on, because we're going to...
Do you want to do this alphabetically, or do you want to do this by color?
We can do like color color and alphabetically through color. I set mine up the same way that you set yours up. So to start off, balance. For those who don't know what balance does, for each player, they sack down to the number of they sack down to the lowest number of creatures on the field. They sack down to the lowest number of lands on the field, and they discard down to the lowest number of cards in hand. This card has some kind of chance of being unbanned. I don't think it's going to be too high because it is a brutal card if somebody does something quickly, but I think that there's a slight chance that it gets unbanned because people can kind of expect to deal with it somewhat on bracket 3. Bracket 4, it's honestly worse because somebody can bomb it out fast mana and then make everyone sack down to 0 lands and discard down to 0 cards, and they're the only person with mana in play. So balance is probably not getting unbanned, but there's some kind of a chance.
Yeah, I don't. We're gonna also ignore the cards that were banned for visual reasons, but balance I can see remaining banned just by virtue of the fact that they're trying to avoid any feel bads, and any mass destruction for whatever reason lends to a feel bad, despite obviously, you know, Ravages of War, Armageddon, things like that being available for a long time. Balance kind of does that, takes that one step further. There are other cards that operate similarly, just not as effectively, and those cards are unbanned. So if you want to run those, you can run those.
It's just that it's so
Act is one that
powerful.
Yeah, they are quite good. But I do think balance will probably remain banned. Iona Shield of Emeria, this was never something that was an issue in a cEDH setting, and I think will probably remain banned because, again, Commander is a more casually focused format, and if this was a problem when it came up before, I'm certain it's still a problem now.
I honestly think Iona is going to be unbanned. Iona is one of those cards
you can buy your copies later. They were cheap to begin with. You can buy them later too. Okay. So.
Yeah. Iona was like around 20-ish bucks, I think, when it was unbanned before, but then it got banned and now it's less expensive. But Iona is one of those cards that it feels bad if somebody plays it and names your deck and then you can't do anything in your monocolored deck.
Wait.
But the thing is, like, in like bracket 4, anything goes. There's way worse things that you deal with than like, oh no, one of my colors is shut off in my 3-color deck. So I think Iona is personally pretty fine because you got to remember the game changer list is there to limit what people play in bracket 3 and
prevent
still
people from playing
these cards in bracket 2
that's
and
true.
bracket
That's
1.
true. That's true. That's interesting. Well, I mean, I feel like bracket 3 is still. I feel like bracket 3 is basically casual high power. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
So
bracket 3 is like you'll see the bigger, bombier stuff, but you're not going to see the like hyper efficient.
I need to see where the average deck lands. If a majority of players use bracket 3 decks, and like, I don't know, I've watched the Command Zone. They use a lot of efficient ass cards. Like, I feel like a lot of their decks on that channel fall into bracket 3. So, like you were saying, it is limited to 3 cards. So you need to really think, like, do you really want to play one of your 3 is Iona? Is that really one of your 3? From that standpoint, I could see this potentially getting on the game changer list.
Yeah, like if you saw bracket 3 get dropped in a game of in-game nights, it would be like, oh man, that's a pretty powerful card. But you'd see that get blown up a decent amount of the time as well. I think that it feels bad, but if you see it in bracket 4, you're like, well, dang. I still have some outs to it, but like, dang.
Is limited resources?
Limited resources is not coming off the ban list. It is the most brutal card printed in white ever.
So cool.
For those who don't know, limited resources makes everybody sack down to 5 lands, and then no more than 10 lands can be in play at once, and it's specifically designed to be horrible in Commander.
Exodus. I don't think the Commander format was around during Exodus. I could be wrong. What, like the late 90s? Was
correct.
It around?
It was not around, but
so it was designed. Yeah,
but the wording is horrible because if this gets played on like turn 2 and you ramped in your Selesnya deck, cool. There can only be 10 lands in play. I have 5 of them. You can have 2. You can have 2. You can have 1. Everyone go screw yourselves. Like that is.
They need to have the removal or the bounce, right? That's it. But you can mental misstep it, Will. Come on. One of three game changers, man. Okay.
And then a Charizard.
Nope.
No, we're not talking Charizard.
Ancestral
Ancestral
Recall.
Recall,
Nope.
way too good for itself. Aereo. Yeah, Ario.
You got
Um,
it. You got it.
uh, Ario is. It's one of the ones that I think probably won't be unbanned, but there's a very slight chance. It's kind of on the same tier as Balance for me because Ario is a 2-mana do nothing commander, but if the
We're
thing
yeah.
happens, holy crap.
Yeah, we're really
Ario
only
was a
looking at that.
cEDH commander for a while and did brutal things. I think Ario is going to be one of the best cEDH commanders if it gets unbanned. It's going to be brutal in bracket 4. It's going to be brutal in bracket 3. I doubt this is getting unbanned.
We can move on to the next one. I agree with you. I think Arroyo, man, it's sick though, man. I would play mono blue for that.
Yeah,
I would play mono blue for that.
I would as well.
That's
But
super.
Lord, that is so brutal.
But I agree, is one of the few like twist commanders, because I guess
Flip, yeah.
flip it. Well, it's like flip is like this. Flip is like this, sir.
No,
This is a twist
transform.
commander.
That's transform. This is transform. Hold up.
Well, no,
This
because
is transform.
no.
This is flip.
Well, they call her Flip Liliana, not Transform Liliana, the one that turns
Yeah,
into.
but people can be wrong, Patrick.
Well, I mean,
Everyone has a right to be stupid.
this is more like a tap. You're turning the card. It literally does say flip. I understand, but I'm just saying, can they both be flips? Can we both be right? Here, I'm gonna set up a poll for you guys. I'm curious to hear from you on something. But will Flash?
Flash honestly could probably be unbanned, and I know that that's like a very divisive thing for a lot of people, but people have tried playing with Flash unbanned in cEDH. It's fine. It's really not a problem. Thoracle's more of a problem than Flash Hulk. So I think Flash Hulk is fine. We went over this on the channel before, and I'm going to say the same thing that I said before. We actually have this clipped. With the Thoracle combo, you have kind of a useless 2-drop that doesn't really do anything, and then a 2-mana bad-ish tutor. For Flash Hulk, you have a unusable 2-drop and an unusable 7-drop. So one of those combos is 1 mana less and purely instant speed, but you're hitting way more bricks in that deck than if you're just running Thoracle Demonic Consultation. And also, with Flash Hulk, it has all the Hulk problems of you might just draw the things you want to Hulk in.
Yeah, and then you need to play
hurts.
like workarounds. It's like, oh yeah, but this thing lets me put it back in my deck, or it's like, no. Yeah, it's very efficient, and it does. I don't know. I remember playing in a Flash meta, and I don't know how many times successfully or easily someone was able to pull this off like turn 0. Like it was very rare. I know that threat is there, but I feel like you could just ramp out and play Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation in the same way, and that's just way better. And I don't see that shit happen that often either. So it's like, I don't disagree with you. I think that this could be in the game changers. And if you want one of your game changers in a bracket 3 list to be Flash, it can be. Obviously, anything goes high powered in cEDH, but as Will said, I think there are better things. But Gifts Ungiven, sir? Should we buy our copies? We should buy our
Gifts
copies.
Ungiven is so. I'm surprised this is still a banned card because so many people are like, oh, but it's better intuition, It's not. It is really not. I've had so many discussions with people where I'm like, name a Gifts Ungiven pile that makes it better than an intuition, and people have pretty much just said, you can grab a counterspell on top of your intuition pile, and then I'm like, yeah, but that's it. You're getting an intuition pile and a mental misstep or force of will. Like, yes, that's better, but that's not like game breaking. I don't think intuition is really ban worthy, and I don't think Gifts Ungiven is really ban worthy.
Right. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand.
It's intuition, but you choose 4 cards and 2 go to hand instead of 1.
Delicious. I mean, it's 4 mana. It makes that Savine's wreck play that much tougher. I don't know, man. I could see it being unbanned and I'd be okay with that. Like, I like the dual entomb you can do with gifts. Yeah, there's that too. It's something. It is something. Gifts Ungiven is definitely a game changer. But you know
Indeed.
what's not on the game changer list?
Hullbreacher.
Intuition.
Oh yeah, true. Intuition is not on the game changer list.
Wait, am I crazy?
Intuition is not. It is completely legal.
Sorry, I just needed to verify. Yeah, it could go. It could go on the game changer list, I guess, and then
Yeah.
ultimately just like be removed. Fuck Hull Breacher. Sorry.
Hull Breacher, I think Hull Breacher could probably get put on the game changer list because, weirdly enough, it did not get banned for cEDH reasons. It got banned for casual reasons, and I think that is the perfect example of a card that can be put on the game changer list. It's powerful. It does crazy things. It may be too oppressive, which is the only reason why it might stay banned. But it's honestly fair enough that it could be put on the game changer list. I
mean-
think that this is probably like on the line, but just on the ban line of game changer versus bans. I think it's probably going to stay banned, but I think like that is the ceiling of the ban list, or
I mean,
the
for
or however you want to phrase
I'm not
that.
gonna lie, this doesn't affect Oswald too much until I get the One Ring out. And as an Oswald player, I could just build a board and then search
Also,
the removal and then get the One Ring.
yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say like if somebody
Yeah.
does get this out, you just go cool.
I just
Congrats,
wait.
you get like 3 treasures next turn.
yeah,
I exile it. I draw 4.
yeah. It just exactly. It's I think that my list plays well into this, but there are other commanders that don't. But the thing is, Ad Nauseam, which is still the main rip for a lot of decks, still kind of gets away with it. So, I could see this going on the game changer list. I guess. The thing was, it was really oppressive with the wheel decks, and it was typically the deck running Hull Breacher that would run the wheels. So the concept being they would just leave you high and dry, and maybe they ran the Demir one as well as backup, the 4-cost one. I don't remember its name.
So Pubstomp brought up something interesting. Orcish Bowmaster isn't on the game changer list. Hull Breacher is fine as game changer. Disagree. And the only reason why is Orcish Bowmaster does not prevent you from advancing your game plan. It punishes you for advancing your game plan.
Right.
Hull Breacher,
Hull Breacher is a little bit more
prevents you.
oppressive. It prevents you, and then it says, "Oh," and then on my turn, I have like 5 more mana to fuck with. So thanks.
yeah.
It's kind of gross. The fact that it's flash too, like obviously that's what makes it so playable. Because if it was just a stacks piece that said that, it wouldn't be so bad. But like you do that on the stack, it's like, come on, man.
I will say,
Notion Thief.
if it gets
Thank you.
unbanned, I would not be surprised, which is why I picked one up. Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
think that it is a card that it very well could be put on the game changer list, but I think that it is like just barely on the fence.
Yeah. This is pretty easy. Sway the Stars. Nope.
Sway the Stars is potentially yep for the same reason that Worldfire is unbanned and not on the game changer list. It's just a card where if you play it, you're a dick, but people expect it. So
yeah, but
people
it's the same reason that they put in stone now, like no mass land denial, or it's the same concept in my mind.
yeah.
Like
So you're only seeing it in bracket 4.
I see it remaining banned. Did you buy copies of Sway the Stars?
I didn't, but that's just because I don't care about playing Sway the Stars,
No.
period. But I think Sway the Stars can be unbanned because it's only playable in bracket 4 and cEDH.
And well, look, bracket 3, someone could throw it down, and it
Nope.
will. Why not?
Mass Lane Disruption is banned in bracket 3.
Is that part of bracket 3?
Yep. It's
Oh
only
no,
bracket
mass
4.
land denial. Yeah.
So
That's mass.
that's
That's
why I
mass.
think-
Everything denial. I just think its effectiveness is lost. I don't know. Like even if you want to put it on the game changer list, you can, but it's not going to be played in a competitive setting with how the brackets are set up.
Correct, 100%.
Yeah.
Which that's why I think it can go on the game changer list because no one wants to play it other than like the people who want to be jerks. But those people are bracket 4 only.
Or Randy Galagos. He got out of Magic because he couldn't play his card. Time Walk. Nope.
No, very much no. Tinker.
No.
Tinker's a weird one because Tinker is like one of those big scary flip cards. But if Tinker's in cEDH,
Nope.
you're getting the One Ring. If Tinker's in casual, you're getting Blightsteel
I
Colossus.
think of a few artifacts that would be pretty good to tinker out. There's a shit ton of. I mean, like it's not a. It's a. Speaking of like hyper efficient tutors that homogenize the game, this is like the main one. It's like this is where Blue's fucked up. It's like I don't really need to ramp. Green, it's really cute what you're doing there. I just run artifacts that are generically good. I break them and I find better artifacts. It's like, what? Conceptually, this is a bad card. I think it's really cool. I think it needed to read something like Flash. Like you need to pay the difference, or like balance this some way. But sacrificing an artifact is not that big of a deal. It's very good. It's too good. It's too good. I think this can stay banned.
I'll say though, if you're a monster, you tinker for knowledge pool, and there's things that you can tinker for that are like really good effects. But the thing is, like, tinker is still, you need an artifact and tinker to get out another thing. The mana value of those two things together is about the same as playing the other thing for cEDH most of the time. Yes, I think for unbanned cEDH, like no bans, they usually find Bolas's Citadel as their tinker target, just period. And it's like, okay, well, you can do that in regular cEDH, and then it's still about as powerful as just finding a Bolas Citadel to begin with. I think tinker very likely will stay banned.
Just like you tap your island, you tap your Soul Ring, and then you get your Bolas's Citadel.
But that's still like a turn 2. You get up Bolas's Citadel. Like, you usually get Bolas's Citadel out like turn 3-ish anyways.
I wouldn't buy any copies, people. I don't see this one coming out of the ban list.
I think Tinker is a card that you can buy exactly one copy of to be safe, but I would not buy more than one copy for this fact of, like, it's still a really good card. It's more likely than not going to stay banned, but there is a legitimate argument of it could be unbanned.
How about Trade Secrets, Will?
Trade Secrets. That is a weird one, because
you want to do your group hug?
Well, here's the thing. Like, Trade Secrets is actually a fair card depending on the situation, because for those who don't know, Trade Secrets was a mistake of a design that was not actually a mistake. Target opponent draws 2 cards, then you draw up to 4 cards. That opponent may repeat this process any number of times. The reason why this card is banned is because you target an opponent and that opponent says, I'm going to draw my whole deck, and then you say, okay, I'm going to draw my whole deck as well, and both of you now have your whole decks in hand, and then do a whole counter war. A lot of the time, though, if people aren't trying to just prank everyone, they're going to say, like, okay, I'm going to draw up to like a little bit over hand size and then leave it there. And then that's usually how this plays out. Because most people aren't going to say, I'm going to draw my whole deck, and the opponent is the one who can choose. So if you're in the lead and you're like, hey, guy in last place, would you like to draw some cards? They're going to be like, I will draw 2 and stop there because I don't want you getting more. So Trade Secrets is like politics.card. It is a thing that if people think they know how to play into this card, and this card is not a problem, and it could be probably put onto the game changer list. But if people just want to be jerks, they can abuse this card, but that's a perfect example of a thing that would probably be only playable in bracket 3 and bracket 4.
You think this is game changer worthy?
I honestly do think that this could be put on the game changer list, because it's fine. It's really just fine. If people
unless they redirect it, they're like, shit, yeah, I'll take that.
Well, no, you target an opponent, but then
I know, but so but like you can redirect the target draw. Like, you'll get the draw, but like you could benefit the guy right after you. I guess you're gonna be hell bent on stopping them at that point. It just feels like a dumb card. It feels like a convoluted effect. Like, I don't want to watch people do this, because anything that's gonna lend to the game taking longer than it should have to, I just don't want to see. Speaking of upheaval, another card that I hate.
It is a card that I think could be unbanned solely due to the fact that it's bracket 4, and I don't think it's going to see cEDH play. It's not even bracket 3. Like, it's mass land disruption, therefore it's bracket 4 only.
It's so well, it's not. It's mass everything disruption, but its cost is high, so that's like its only issue. But I'm just not a fan of this card because I've been bent over backwards by it multiple times. Not a fan of it. But I mean, if you want to put it on the game changer list, you can. It's one of those things where it's like you were saying, because of the nature of the effect, it would never see play in a bracket 1 or 2.
3. It won't even see play bracket 3.
Yeah. because yeah, exactly. Because of that same rule. And even if it were unbanned entirely, I don't think people would play it. So even if regardless of the ruling.
Next, Braid's Cabal Minion, and honestly, this card could probably be unbanned. The reason why is because it is a very powerful card. It's very annoying to play against, but really, people don't want to play this into a bracket 3 deck because it would be miserable. People are only playing it in either cEDH or very high power level decks anyways. It's very pub stompy, but the entire point of the game changer list is to not pub stomp. So it is a pretty good example of a card that is kind of designed for brackets to some extent because it's there to be not fun, but it's still something that people would actually enjoy playing against if they're expecting it.
Right. I don't mind braids at all. I mean, smokestacks is the thing. Do smokestacks hit lands as well?
Yes, smokestacks hits lands. The
It's
main
just,
difference is braids is your commander.
Right. Smokestacks. Well, I mean, when we have Tinker, you can just get smokestacks whenever, bruh.
Indeed.
I mean, yeah, braids is fine by me. I never thought that she needed to be put into obscurity. I feel like she's totally fine. Contract from below, we can obviously skip. Dark Pack.
Next is Gristlebrand.
No, there's yeah. These are all oldies and
They're
goldies.
antis. They're all antis.
Yeah.
They're your auntie. They're gonna come over. They're gonna give you candy, and they're gonna pinch your cheek.
Yeah, you want that, don't you? Game changer.
You're such a handsome young man.
Auntie's a real game changer. Grizzlebrand for 4 generic, 4 black. We know what it does.
Yeah, it's gonna stay banned. And the only reason why is because it can be your commander. It's a necropotence in the command zone. For Gristlebrand, literally all you do is just run all of the mana that you can run, and then and then a couple cards that win the game. And then maybe a few things that gain life back. But Gristlebrand is just better necropotence and debatably better Yawgmoth's Bargain. But it can also be your commander. So it by itself is just such a ridiculous card. Because even, let's say you get Gristlebrand out, you pay all but 5 life, and then you brick. You have a 7/7 flying lifelink in play. No one is punching you to death, and you are gaining all of your life back.
Diego says Grizzlebrand should have been 7 mana and all black pips. If it was all black pips and unbanned, imagine Crick like just having a field day. He's like, yes.
Well, I mean, you're taking 14 damage off of that, and then you're paying a ton of life to draw. Like, yeah, Crick can still get around that, but like,
so cool with it, yeah. Banned as commander. That's interesting. Well, that's a separate. I guess that's a separate game changer list.
Well, Game Changer, they specifically did not want to do Banned as Commander because they didn't want to make it confusing, which is the same reason why we don't have Banned as Commander anymore.
So Grizzlebrand would be like one of your 2 game changers in a bracket 3, but then like not. I mean, it wouldn't be an issue in brackets 4 or 5.
You don't need anything else. Grizzlebrand is a problem for bracket 4, bracket 5, and also probably bracket 3, because if somebody just entombs Grizzlebrand and reanimates them, like, cool. No one beats that in bracket.
I would rather,
3.
I would rather see it in the 99 for that sole purpose. Like, I don't want to have to think about casting this without a Mana Crypt or a Jeweled Lotus now. Frankly.
Yeah, it's like, as a commander, this card is pretty brutal. In the 99, this card is even more brutal because it's usually just a better Yawgmoth's Bargain, and Yawgmoth's Bargain is already banned.
I think I saw you buy Recurring Nightmare though.
I did not, but
No?
it's only because it's still very expensive.
You can
I
get
think it's going to get unbanned, but I just don't want to spend that much.
You can get a heavy played copy of Recurring Nightmare for like, I think $20. I would take a damaged copy for more or less that, because Recurring Nightmare is just better Chthonian Nightmare, and we talked about this off camera. But Chthonian Nightmare is not really that good. No one plays it.
No one plays it. People think that it's either mid or it's trash, and no one really plays Chthonian Nightmare in like cEDH. It's rarely played in bracket 5, and then it's not really played in bracket 3 because you're not trying to abuse cards in bracket 3. So I think Recurring Nightmare is honestly probably fine.
What are the combos that exist? So before, it would be the card right under him. It would have been Dockside Extortionist, would have been like the play line, because that card is in every deck, and then obviously Recurring Nightmare would go into anything that contained black. If this was a game changer, Will, what would people leverage to win with Recurring Nightmare. Normally,
like
when I've seen
Palancron.
right any sort of mass untap, I guess you could do that. You could do the
Very
Drake.
specifically Palancron.
Well, Palancron is mana positive, right? When you do it.
Yeah.
I guess if you
Yeah.
have lands that tap for more than one, but Ancient Tomb would damage you. City of Traders would work.
I guess you can also just do 2 creatures that untap, like a fairy plus the
Yeah.
Drake.
But well, also like anything that comes into play and generates mana. Right. Enough to play this. But then Priest of Gix wouldn't work. It's like 3 cards. You'd need a cost reduction Priest of Gix.
For Pub Stomp, yeah. Chthonian Nightmare was good when Dockside was unbanned, but now it's banned and cards not unplayable, but the card is
right.
much more reasonable. I will say the other major difference between Chthonian Nightmare and Recurring Nightmare, outside of the obvious, is Chthonian Nightmare could be interacted with, Recurring Nightmare can't. Because Chthonian Nightmare had an ETB trigger that gave you energy, and Recurring Nightmare enters and then immediately sacks and bounces itself. So you don't have any chance that you can respond to Recurring Nightmare with removal, but you can respond to Chthonian Nightmare. That's like the major difference, outside of like the obvious pay energy to pay for CMC. But
well, so if this was put on the game changer list and Dockside was, I honestly don't mind Dockside being gone.
Dockside's too good for the format, and I think it's still going to be banned.
Right.
If this was unbanned, I think it would see like a little bit of cEDH play here and there, but it would more so be like a bracket 3, bracket 4 card, which is why I think it's
this
fine.
Yeah, this in tandem with like recovery effects even too. I need to look at the play lines for this because I can't remember what I used to do. Justin had a combo cube for a while. It had Grizzlebrand, it had Recurring Nightmare, had a lot of, it had Yawgmoth's Bargain, which we're going to talk about in a second. Which you'd normally just leverage these things for value. It was a combo cube though, and I think there were play lines for Recurring Nightmare. I just don't remember what they were, which is fine. I feel like they were all 3 minimally card combos. So cards made for the format tend to be a bit too good for the format. Yeah, it's hard to balance something like a Dockside Extortionist. That's a fucking lie. You probably didn't have to say artifacts and enchantments.
If
but
you
even
just said artifacts, it would be crazy.
Yeah, it's still crazy, right? Like, and if it just said enchantments, that wouldn't really go with the flavor. I don't know. We'll talk about it in a second. Yawgmoth's Bargain, Will?
Yeah, Yawgmoth's Bargain, I honestly think is fine. Yawgmoth's Bargain was like, it was in the ban list because it was one of the best draw effects that you could use at the time to just keep drawing and then gain a bit of life and then keep drawing and gain a bit of life and keep drawing. It was more so used as just a cEDH card that said, I play it, I'm going to draw half of my deck and lose all of my life except for a little bit and then tumble off. Peer into the Abyss is a card. Peer into the Abyss is literally Yawgmoth's Bargain, but you lose less life, and with the downside of you can't keep utilizing it if you have life gain. Right. I think Yawgmoth's Bargain is a fine card to unban.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think people run too much hate for enchantments either, but people do run stuff for like activated abilities. If it's an expectation, you can plan for it. But I mean, it's really no different than like you're saying PETA or frankly Ad Nauseam or Necropotence. Like the goal is to just put your deck in hand and do the thing. And Black does that in a multitude of ways. So is this 6 CMC thing really that great? I mean, it might even replace PETA in the lists that are highly efficient. Maybe even not. I don't know. I feel like Yawgmoth's Bargain could be put on the game changer list. And we're saying like transition to game changer before it's ultimately decided whether or not it is banned and or it just gets moved into the unbanned list or remains in the game changer list because that list is effectively a lock on bracket 3. Most likely you straight up cast Bargain compared to cheating in Grizzlebrand. Yeah, Yawgmoth's Bargain is interesting. There's not a good way to cheat it in either that I'm aware of. So really it's just going to be mana efficient stuff like Culling the Weak and whatever ramp you have on top of that. So it's not difficult to put out there. The thing is, like with high cost effects like this, with things like Mana Crypt missing, you do, and some things being on the game changer list that might even potentially get banned. Like if you run out of more free ramp or like mana positive ramp like rituals, things like this get less effective. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't just put your deck in hand and have no mana. So we'll see. I think the effectiveness is really contingent on what game changers remain game changers, and what things remain banned. But I think you're right that this could be shifted for sure.
Yeah, and to give like the side-by-side comparison of Gristlebrand and Yawgmoth's Bargain, the major reason why I think Gristlebrand is going to stay banned, but Yawgmoth's Bargain is potentially going to get game changered, is
Game changed.
Gristlebrand is a massive body that will be giving you life and allowing you to grind through your deck in addition to just getting that one major instant burst. On top of the fact that you can cheat it in easier, on top of the fact that you can also have it be your commander, on top of the fact that it's going to be protecting you from dying to combat damage randomly, on top of the fact that it does not prevent you from gaining your one draw a turn if you did just want to play defensively afterwards. Yawgmoth's Bargain makes it so you have to keep paying life to draw cards. Gristlebrand, you can just keep Gristlebrand on board and draw your one card per turn. So Gristlebrand is just significantly better. Yawgmoth's Bargain is basically PETA.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't think we have to say much about Dockside. We all know how it like shifted the meta entirely. It's nice that red got a good card. And I'm happy that it's gone.
It was too good.
Yeah, there was no real way to balance this. Diego suggested, the treasures could have came into play tapped. I don't disagree. I think
Falling Stars is a dex card, and then the Efreet is a anti card. So next is Biorhythm. Honestly, unban Biorhythm. I know that like this card is just kind of 8 mana win the game, but it's 8 mana win the game with any creature and any board wipe. Or in a specific board state where you're the only person with the creature. Biorhythm's fine. It's not fun to play against, but if you're expecting Biorhythm in your play group, like, you're fine with it. You're fine with losing to Biorhythm if you know that Biorhythm is coming eventually.
Yeah. Can you count to 8? You'll know.
Well, actually, it's more like, can you count to 13? Because you got to do 8 for Biorhythm, 4 for Wrath of God, and then 1 for an elf.
Or just have an indestructible creature out prior. Make sure your commander's indestructible, then do Biorhythm. Or is it they sacrifice each player? Yeah. So never mind. This has nothing to do with the mass destruction effect. Yeah, there are ways to play Biorhythm where it could potentially be playable. It is high costed and not that bad. I feel like this falls in line with like Coalition Victory, but Coalition Victory is oddly easier. So yeah. I feel like Biorhythm is totally fine. Channel though.
So Channel is, I will say, Channel will probably stay banned, but I will also say buy at least one copy of Channel, because Channel is a 30-cent card right now.
Dude, there's so many good versions of Channel. I'm not gonna lie, Rebecca's version is still my favorite, and I missed an opportunity to get a playmat a little while back, and they're kind of expensive now. Sorry. I have too many playmats, by the way, but I really want one of those Channel playmats. But you can get, how much is an alpha one? Actually, $125. I wouldn't say go for that one. There's a really cool reprint from the Strixhaven archives that you could get. They're both cool. I like the Japanese ones. To go back though, I'm sorry, couldn't you hypothetically bracket 2 Biorhythm? Yeah, yes. Am I wrong?
Wait. Couldn't you hypothetically...
No mass land denial, no tuning extra turns, no 2-card
turn 2 Biorhythm. Like cast Biorhythm on turn 2 with like a spell cheater or something.
Oh, sure.
I mean, like, theoretically yes, but that requires a whole bunch of ramp or a very specific card that allows you to cast Biorhythm for free. And more likely than not, you're not doing it on turn 2, and people can play stuff. So yeah, you could get Biorhythm out super early and then win if you're playing the thing from Amonkhet that says if it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast a spell from hand for free. There's a couple effects like that exist in the game, but no, that's not happening frequently enough that it's going to be something you have to worry about. And
So Channel,
if somebody does do that, like, you're seeing that in bracket 4 more likely than not, and at that point you just know, okay, run counter spells or run removal to kill the thing.
What is the worst? You cast Channel. What's your next spell?
Eldrazi. For casual, it's Eldrazi. For cEDH, it is probably
the One Ring.
So for cEDH, it's weird because I think you go for more draw stuff. Because I think you do like a channel into
You're gonna try to draw.
Yeah, you're gonna try to find some way of drawing because you can probably play like you could play Kozilek, then you could play.
Well, it basically helps the mana deficiency issue, right? That you might have off of like a mass draw effect. So this is like answering the problem of not having mana. Is it too good by itself though?
Just channel by itself. I think if you do channel and just play out a lot of the things in your hand, it can still be super gross because if you're running an artifact deck, that's everything in your hand.
But green artifacts really isn't like an archetype. I think there might be some decks that happen to be in green that do play artifacts though.
Yeah, but one of the other things that was brought up was X cost spells because somebody MTG Remy gave a meme of winning turn 1 with a Black Lotus and a Fireball with channel. But X cost spells are a thing. I think if you do unban channel and put it on the game changer list, we're gonna see a lot of channel into Torment of Hellfires. That's gonna be like the thing that people do. Because it's the most mana efficient.
That's the one where they discard cards. If they can't discard a card, they lose 2 life. Is that it?
It's sack a non-land permanent, discard a card, or lose 3 life X times.
They choose among those. Okay, it's not one then the other than the last one if they don't have the option. I forget how it reads.
They have the option to pick from the 3, and then they have to repeat that process X times.
Right. So it'll ultimately boil down to life if they don't have anything.
Yeah, because let's say you do what's like the most mana efficient way that you can do this? If you
play a forest turn 1 and then you play a dork, and then next turn
let's say you go full on forest turn 1, turn 2 forest channel into Arcane Signet, into Dark Ritual, into Torment of Hellfire.
Is Torment of Hellfire 1 black and some generic, or is
it black X, so Dark Ritual?
Okay, well, I mean, also your 1 dork could be like the Elves of Deep Shadow or something, so that does.
Yeah. So you could theoretically win turn 2 by doing that, because let's see. So by doing that, you pay 2 life for one thing, and then you're paying 37 life into Torment of Hellfire's X equals 38. That's enough. That's enough to kill. Like, leagues over.
I don't feel like that's that bad. Is that weird?
Seeing that in like a bracket 3 deck is gonna fucking suck.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's their whole deck, I mean, that's pretty mana efficient, but they're not gonna have the tutors. Like, they get to run like 1 DT and then 1 channel. I guess they could get 2 really highly efficient tutors, 1 channel, and then the Torment of Hellfire. All right,
I think channel probably too good, because also we're talking about like, using channel as a combo. You don't need to use channel as a combo. You can play channel and just vomit out all of your mana rocks, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, now I have like by turn 2 I have like 5 mana every turn from here on out.
This is all just making me want to talk about Prime Time, which we'll get to in a second. But
Fast Bond is staying banned. It combos with too many commanders, and it's way too efficient as a card.
Well, yeah. Could you imagine the land decks with Fast Bond?
Tatiova. I ran out of lands.
Bracket 6.
Draw spell.
Yeah, dude, immediately bracket 6. Fast Bond is such a damn good card. Oh, have you guys ever played with Fast Bond? Justin's combo cube a while back. It had channel and had Fast Bond. Fast Bond's very good. If you're wondering.
Point out, Fast Bond does not say play a land from your hand. You literally just use Tatiova until you hit a Crucible of Worlds, and then you go fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, fetch land, game.
Oof. And there's multiple Crucibles now. Well, there's at least 2 that I'm aware of. The Ramen Up.
There is like 7.
X20 if everyone has no board and 7 cards in hand. Damn.
Yep.
Elvish Spirit Guide, Forest, Channel, Signet, D-Ritual, Torment. And then you buy a lottery ticket. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about one of my favorite cards. Prime Time. When Nature Calls. Run.
Honestly, it could probably be unbanned. Yeah. Yes, it's a very efficient card. Yes, it's a ludicrous amount of ramp. But if people are expecting it, you're cool with it. Because, once again, this is all to have a conversation with people when you're hopping into a game out of nowhere. if you're playing bracket 3, the chances of you seeing primetime are ridiculously low because, one, people can only run 3 game changer cards. 2, people may not even be running green decks. 3, people still have to draw into their prime times or find their prime times with 3 or less tutors in their deck.
So,
So
well, you have crop rotation. So you'll get your one guy's cradle. You'll get your prime time off of your one, which is not on the game changer list, worldly tutor. I feel like the efficient green tutors are not on the game changer list. So it's interesting. Like green might be okay with finding this and like popping it out, dude.
yes, but you got to remember they only have 3 tutors in their deck.
Yeah.
It's
I do like primetime a lot. This could move to the game changer list for sure.
I think it's game changerable. And speaking of hyper efficient cards that could totally be game changerable, free my boy Raphaelos.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you want to talk about Rebirth?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about
No,
anti cards.
no. Yeah.
Raphaelos is just a 2-mana dork that makes it basically doubles up your ramp. It's a 2-mana double your lands card, more or less, and it's in your command zone. Is that card very efficient? Heck yes. Is that card very powerful? Heck yes. Can the card combo off? Heck yes. Is it the most gross thing that you've ever seen? Not by a mile.
How is it with Ashaya though, dude? You're not even thinking about the
Mashaya.
combos.
Yeah, the creatures you play are also going to be making you more mana. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things you can do with Raphaelos that would be really strong. I think he probably will be unbanned because people have been saying unban Raphaelos to the same level people have been saying unban Coalition Victory.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
People have been
He
crying
is
out enough.
kind of expensive, sadly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Imagine
say.
how expensive it's going to be after it gets unbanned.
Yeah, but it's just this is reserved, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's reserved, which is the reason why it's so expensive.
but it's not as good as other mono green legendaries. So like just play Sovala if you really want to do this because it is technically better by you know all measures. The game changer list is pretty small and tuned. Drax, I don't disagree. They are saying that they will be modifying it soon. I think that for the beta, they have a smaller list, but I think ultimately it will be changing. He was 20 at one point. He may have shot up. I don't have TCG player up as like our barometer, but he may have shot up due to some announcements. I could be wrong, but
He's just been climbing up steadily over years. He's been about 40 for the past like 2-ish years.
How about Sylvan Primordial, sir?
Silver Primordial is one of those cards that I think could be unbanned, but it's salty primetime. That's kind of the best way to put it. So
It's
for
just
each
ETB,
opponent,
though.
destroy one non-creature permanent that opponent controls, then search for a forest and put it into play for each permanent destroyed this
In my
way.
Raphaelos deck.
Yeah. The reason why this card was banned is because it just goes, I hit one land each opponent controls and ramp. With that ramp, next turn, I'm going to be flickering this to do the same, and flickering this to do the same. Because note, it does not search up basic forests. It searches up forests. So this is insane in your Wooburg deck, and this is insane in your mono green deck.
Yeah.
Um,
When you run out, just get the Dryad Arbor, okay? There's always more forest.
Yeah, I think theoretically, yes, this could be unbanned. I think it may be too scary to unban.
Dude,
But-
I kind of like fucking over multicolored decks by like hitting one of their core duels. Just like cheating this out with a reanimate and being like, yeah,
Well,
that
here's the
one,
issue.
that Volk Island, gone.
Wooburg decks are probably happy to run this.
That as well. Yeah. Grabs Dryad Arbor. Woo. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. It's Raphaelos bait. That's all we care about. Sylvan Primordial, I guess I'm a little bit iffier on just by nature of the fact that it targets lands. And frankly, that's what it wants to do. It doesn't just target lands, it targets non-creature permanents, but let's be honest, it's probably going to go after lands. And we know how they feel about land destruction in general. So I feel like this might stay banned, Will. I agree, though, Primetime can probably come out. However,
Yeah.
Lutri, any thoughts on this one?
Lutri. So out of impact, I think Lutri could be unbanned because honestly, yes, every single Izzet deck runs Lutri because they can, and there is literally no downside. But if you play like, let's say you play a game and you have Lutri as your companion just right now, you're never paying 3 mana to put Lutri into your hand and then paying another 3 mana to play just a random 3/2 flash that may let you copy an instant or sorcery. Power level wise, yes, Lutri could be unbanned. I don't even think Lutri needs to be game changer. I think Lutri could be unbanned with how weak this card is. But
with the new
because
rules,
it goes
with
in
the
every
rules,
single deck.
yeah. With the rules on how companion works, I agree. This is so inefficient. Like you might just have. It's sorcery speed at which you can put this in your hand, or is it instant?
It is sorcery speed when you can put this in your hand. You have to pay 3
Yeah,
mana
dude.
at sorcery speed.
No, that's pretty weak. If channels around, maybe. Maybe. But then what do you do? What do you Well, I mean, actually that's kind of cool that you can have like a 2-card infinite set up with Lutri just there off of a channel. I don't know.
Here's the issue. Read Lutri. When this enters the battlefield, if you cast it from hand, copy target instant or sorcery.
Are you sure? No, it says
target
enters the battlefield if you cast it. Yeah. So if you made a copy
if
of it,
you cast it, not from your hand. Yeah, if you cast it, but
yeah,
if you cast it, meaning that you can't twin flame it to go infinite.
I might do the same thing, Diego, with channels. I'm not gonna lie. If you see a bunch of them missing from Card Kingdom, that could be me. They never do banned as companion, and that's so sad. I don't know that Lutri's that good. I am not disagreeing with Will. Like the way it reads, it's really just an okay copy effect that can be in every list.
But Lutri by far is the weakest companion printed, period. Literally all the others have some form of functionality in some other format. Lutri is the only one that does not get played at all and only has like a meme deck in one format, I think.
You can't even
twin is flame a meme modern deck.
Can't twin flame it because it's legendary. Yeah, part of me is like, yeah, buy them, but also I could see them reprinting for Secret Lair and sell sets. Well, yeah, the way it's working now, it's like a lot of insider trading because WotC is aware of what they're going to be moving to the Game Changer list, and you know they're just the money factory that is Secret Lair. And God, have you seen the aftermarket prices of some of these cards? It does give me FOMO now missing. I'm sorry, this is a separate conversation, but I do have a little bit of FOMO from not buying Secret Lairs because there's art I really like the Demonic Consultation art. That's just really expensive now. And there's only the one avenue to get it. And I'm never going to just like buy a box of some set and pull it, like drafting it. It's, yeah, kind of sucks. But I mean, it is what it is. And you're absolutely right. Like a lot of these cards, we might just want to wait for as well. But some of the things that are reserve list, they're never going to make that. Well, maybe they will from the vault mistakenly reprint reserve list cards. Who knows? I honestly don't. I think the world deserves more Mox Diamonds, frankly, because I don't think anyone should have to pay as much as I did for like half the cards I bought. But I understand that, you know, this is a financial investment for a lot of people too. So there is.
And really quick with Pub Stomp, can't even twin flame it because it's legendary. Ha 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 ha. Joke's on you, Impact Tremors. You get infinite Lutris entering. There you go. Eat it.
Infinite dying otters.
Yeah. Freaking infinite PETA violations. And then also Diego, I play Lutri in my Gearson Tiny Leaders. I must admit, Will, I have never put Lutri in my hand.
Damn. Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a case to be made to just completely unban Lutri. Look, I don't mind. I understand why the rules committee did ban it like on site initially, because the way Companion read, it was sort of unfair for any other colors that weren't Izzet plus, you know, just have a companion accessible 100% of the time.
A combat trick there at all times, because if you have 3 mana open, no one's swinging at you with the 1/1 because you can theoretically flash in Lutri, block, and kill it.
Yeah.
So Lutri was always like a pseudo fog in Izzet.
Yeah.
But now it's not.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty dead. So I don't mind it being unbanned. And we're not even talking about Game Changer here. I'm with you, Will. I'm that could just come off the unbanned list. But how about Natu?
They specifically said no, burn this card in a pit of fire. It would not have even made the Game Changer list on print. It would go straight to ban. So
yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But one of our thumbnail cards, Prophet of Crucifix.
I honestly believe this could be unbanned, and I know a lot of people hard disagree when I say this. But Prophet of Crucifix is actually a fair card because note It is a worse Seedborn Muse most
Yeah.
of the time. It is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
5 mana card that says untap all of your creatures and lands specifically, so it does not untap your artifacts during each player's untap step. And you may cast creatures as though they had flash. That's fine. Like, Seedborn Muse is not on the game changer list. Prophet of Krufix could probably just get unbanned, period. I think it goes on the game changer list. I think it's fine.
I don't feel like it's that problematic either. And if this was on the game changer list, it wouldn't be an issue for brackets 2 and 1. I do feel like a majority of people that you see on, say, again, something like the command zone are probably in bracket 3. And I understand, I think Josh Lee Kwai is on the panel that manages. So I'm realistically, I remember them complaining about this card a lot on their channel. They don't seem to like it because of its effectiveness. And the fact that, creatures are en masse a majority of most lists. So I feel
Actually,
like
they don't like it because they have like 2,000 copies of Vidalcan Ori, and this just kind of invalidates Vidalcan Ori. But
yeah, I guess that's true. I guess they might be sitting on a stockpile of those, but Ori's just okay. This is better than Ori,
well,
and I don't even know that this is like that bad.
they got Vidalcan Ori from like a $2 card to like a $20 to $30 card, but they stockpiled it before pushing Ori. So there's a whole thing of like insider trading there. But they were just
Is this a fact?
at the time they were just content creators, and they got the card to be popular, and they traded off for it.
Is that a
But
fact?
yes, I like they didn't have like 2,000 copies of it, but they bought a couple copies to be like, we can do fun interactions with this. Then they kind of pushed it a little bit on a couple videos,
Hmm.
and then it became like a $40-$50 card, and they're like, oh, we can sell these for profit
So,
now. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but they did do that.
so how do you feel about my unwinding clock in Oswald? It's fair, right?
I mean, it's ridiculously strong because of what you use it for and how functional your deck can search out the two cards, but
But I feel like, how highly efficient Oswald is at getting to that line of play. I feel like the Prophet of Krufix player is going to do the same thing. And it's not like it's netting them card draw inherently outside of, say, a Thrasios deck, right? So I feel like Thrasios' bread and butter was this before, wasn't it?
yeah, Thrasios used Prophet of Krufix, but the thing is, with Thrasios, you have Seedborn Muse, which is just better Prophet of Krufix for the Thrasios lines, but it it's no one plays, or few people play Seedborn Muse with Thrasios. It's like in only like 30% of Thrasios decks, I think, like 30-40%.
I'm
And
curious to see this on the game changer list. I'd be curious to see what this actually does to the meta, but I don't think it's as problematic as it's built out to be, especially with how the brackets are set up now. But yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that. Leovold, Emissary of Trest.
I do not think this is getting pulled off the ban list. Kind of for similar reasons that I said with Gristlebrand, of there's another card that does a similar thing that could get game changered, but this is in the command zone, meaning that it happens every game. So it is constantly coming up in bracket 3 versus very rarely. Like with what I said with prime time. You're not seeing prime time in bracket 3 almost ever because of how bracket 3 is set up and probability finding the card, period.
Yeah.
With Leovold, he's always showing up. He's in the command zone.
He's in the CZ, or he's not even a bad reanimate target, dude. He's
Yeah,
pretty good.
so
He's pretty damn good.
I
these are
think
good effects. If we're
Yeah.
worried about Dranith, this is a fucking good effect. Yeah, you can play your Timna.
I think Hullbreacher,
You can play your
could
Timna.
get unbanned. I don't think Leovold is getting unbanned because it is constantly coming out, and it is going to be a toxic mess for bracket 3 and bracket 4.
Yeah. John Philippe says it encourages bad behavior of slow play. It certainly is slow. It's slow for everyone else. If you mean you're restricted to one card draw per turn, obviously an ad nause is going to be an ad nause. I don't know. I think this could remain banned, and everyone would be fine with that.
Yeah, I have not heard. Well, I've heard some people, but it's very rare that I've ever heard someone say unban my boy Leovold.
No. We've talked about coalition victory at length.
They literally name dropped it as a card that is going to be unbanned.
So this is
implied.
actually this is a good conversation then. He more or less stated it was around like the 16 to 20 minute mark that
19 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
I
think
marked
they
it,
might have. I
but-
think they cut it down then for the YouTube version because I think
Oh,
it
then
showed up.
it's probably like at the 18 minutes. Oh yeah, they cut out the whole. Sorry, yeah, they had a whole 3-minute intro thing, so it'd probably be closer at like the 15-minute mark for YouTube if they cut out the whole intro.
I watched it on YouTube. Basically, they stated that this card is more or less going to make its way to the game changer list just by virtue of the fact that it's really, really costly and like super inefficient relative to a lot of other just win the game effects that have been in existence for forever. So
We actually played the clip earlier, so
Yeah.
they have full context.
yeah, if you didn't catch that before we got into this whole topic of discussion, is this a card people should pick up?
If you want to use it, sure. If not, you can hold out on it.
I don't think
it
it's
is-
going to raise in value because of its
I
game
think
changer.
it will raise in value a bit, but I don't think it's going to get more than like. I think it might hit like the $15 mark just by the fact of it's such a fan favorite card and it has not been reprinted too often. But if this does get unbanned and is put as a game changer, they're reprinting this card at like some point in the relative future. So I think buy like if you want to invest, this is probably a good card to invest in. If you want to own one just for the sake of being able to play one, go for it. It is more likely than not going to be getting unbanned in April.
So my philosophy, if you were trying to buy this to like make a profit, and again, this is not financial advice, but Invasion, old border foils in general tend to do well. This time spiral, time shifted one obviously also comes in a foil that people enjoy. It doesn't affect the art. Will's absolutely right though. Anything that's not on the reserve list will never raise in value as high. Anything that's not on the reserve list won't raise in value as high as something that is. Just by virtue of the fact that it could be printed at any point, reprinted at any point. So I don't think that this is a great investment either. Because like what was being suggested by Pub, like this could totally show up in like a themed secret lair drop. I totally see it.
Really quick, somebody brought up a World Fire as an example of a card that got unbanned. It was at like about $14-ish, then it jumped up to like 31, and now it's been resting like in the 20s-ish. So it roughly doubled price, a little bit less than doubled in price, but roughly doubled in price. I think Coalition Victory is going to be a bit more than double, just because it's a fan favorite. I don't think it's getting over $15 though.
It's a cute way to win though.
Yeah.
You know, it's also a cute way to win, Will.
Jet Mox.
Golos, Tireless Pilgrim.
I think
how do you
this
feel
is
about
going to get
Golos?
unbanned. I think
so?
this is going to get unbanned. Because the main reason why Golos was banned was he was a WooBerg commander that could basically fulfill he could fulfill any dex condition. If you wanted to build zombie tribal, might as well build Golos so that you can use those blue zombies and those white zombies.
It's my bracket 1 commander.
He's gonna be game changered, but the reason why Golos was banned was because he was doing pretty much everything better than every other commander. But really, once you hit bracket 4, even bracket 3, you're building into your commander to some extent to the point where you outpace Golos in whatever thing Golos was trying to do anyways. So I think Golos is fine if he's limited to like bracket 3, bracket 4. My only issue is Golos at bracket 3 may be a little bit too strong, and since he's a commander, he will be able to be played, so he will see a ton of play. That's my only issue. He's a legendary creature, so he may be more common in bracket 3. That's my only concern. I think he will probably be unbanned because people actually really like Golos, and if people understand don't play Golos as often, then I think it's going to be fine. Because Game Changer, more or less, is there to disincentivize people to play certain cards. It's going to disincentivize people to play Golos as much. It'll be played, but it will be played at a more reasonable pace.
Yeah, it'll be played in a competitive setting.
let's go. I'm gonna birthing pod. I'm gonna use Golos finding Gaia's Cradle, then I'm gonna birthing pod Golos into Wake Root
Well,
Elemental, and then I'm gonna use Wake Root Elemental to make infinite mana, replay Golos, find Command Tower, and then make infinite mana of every color so that I can play my entire deck with Golos' effect.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the lands come into play tapped. So how do you leverage them again? Like, what's the untap? It would just be
So-
that, not Wake Root. Is Wake Root really the best option?
Wake Root is the 6-mana option that you can birthing pod into.
Ugh. That's fair, I guess.
But that is the Mimi Golos thing. People also just in cEDH used Golos as like, I'm gonna find Gaia's Cradle, then I'm just gonna do general good Wooburg stuff. Because if Golos ever dies, I'm just gonna find Cascading Cataracts, I think is it? It's the indestructible land that can pay 5 filter into a combination of any 5 mana. Golos would see some cEDH play. He was very niche in cEDH. I think that he might get unbanned.
I've always wanted to play him. I Golos Gates. Milo said it. Like, when I wanted to build Gates, Golos was the first thing that came to mind, and he was banned at the time. So I would do like a lower tier. I would do a lower bracket Golos deck. Honestly, I would love a Gates Golos deck. That would be so fun. I would probably I would do like a bracket 3 list and have like Manifold, like some of the efficient things just to put him down, and then have all the bounce flicker effects, excuse me. I don't know, this just looks like a really cool deck for Gates.
I remember that Golos was only legal when we had 11 Gates, and then he got banned before we got any more Gates.
That makes 3 of us, right? Golos Gate, it just sounds like a fun list, and like this is the commander for it. Well, 100%. I don't know. It's a bummer that he's banned. I agree with you though. I feel like he can go on the game changer list, and it's not like his cost is too high. So, buy one for $1 or $2 now and hope that he gets unbanned.
But the next one is Emrakul, Eon's Torn.
Actually, it's Black Lotus.
No, it is not. We both know it's not. Emrakul, Eon's Torn. Legendary Eldrazi cannot be countered. 15 mana, 15/15. When you cast this, take an extra turn. Flying protection from spells. Flying protection from spells that are 1 or more colors. Annihilator 6. And if this is put into your graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into their library. This was banned because you could have it as your commander and have a consistent extra turn and just make people feel miserable. We got the new spaghetti monster from Modern Horizons 3, which is also equally as brutal, because I don't think that we need a 10-mana commander that gets rid of half a person's deck, makes it so that people have to sacrifice lands to target it, and then has like Annihilator 10 on it. This is just honestly fine. And I know that people are scared just having this in a command zone and someone like ramping into the super hard, playing it and winning, but fine. Like, it's really fine.
I mean, this goes against a lot. I think one of the other things, and I think this extends to every bracket, right? And particularly tournament play, because there is a time clock. Anything that's going to give you extra turns it seems like problematic for them. They don't want prolonged play. So I can understand why they may want to keep this, like...
One thing, though, is this is only played in bracket 4. Because they kind of specified that Annihilator is considered land interruption and theoretically chaining extra turns together. So Emrakul is only bracket 4. And honestly, if you're doing bracket 4, it's like, okay, is Emrakul cEDH viable? That's kind of like the question that you get to at that point. It's like, okay, well...
Not really.
Not really. Is Emrakul viable if you like power down cEDH a little bit? Maybe.
As a game,
that's kind of fair.
Yeah, but you're right. As a game changer, it wouldn't be bracket 3 because of spiritually the extra turn business. I guess you'd be able to chain it if you had all the mana to cast it again. But the Annihilator 6.
Yeah, if you have like untapped sources and a sack outlet, then you just pay 2 more every time.
Well, I mean, I guess you could just do like a food chain thing. Well, no, if it's in the 99, you could do a food chain thing.
Oh, well, that exiles it.
When you cast this spell, take an extra turn.
Yeah, but you're exiling it.
Oh, yeah, never mind, you're screwed. Well,
Specifically as a commander. Well,
What could we do? What could we do?
survival of the fittest or something like that to just keep researching it back into hand and then playing it and sacking it, shuffling it and repeat.
Isochron Scepter, Pull from Eternity. there's easier things to do.
Isochron Scepter Worldly Tutor is good enough with like any sack outlet.
Emrakul, game changer. I don't think anyone's gonna run it, to be honest with you. Jeweled Bird, we're not going to talk about, but card.
Jeweled Lotus. We can talk about Jeweled Lotus.
Everyone's
I think Jeweled Lotus potentially could get put on the game changer list, but I think Jeweled Lotus is probably going to stay banned.
Is it wrong of me to want high powered to have a limited amount of game changers? Like, I feel like there needs to be some other differentiating factor between high powered and cEDH. Like, I think it just needs to be limited game changers. Like, it's a bracket for people that don't have unlimited money to blow. But go on.
You know the difference between high powered and cEDH? One of those formats is definitely playing primetime. The other is not.
It's the
now we're going to see primetime in cEDH if it gets unbanned. That is the perfect example.
I don't think it's going to be in high powered either, though. I really don't think people are playing.
People will play. Command Zone is kind of bracket 4. A lot of Command Zone's decks would probably be considered bracket 4.
I was going to say the difference would be that bracket 4 players have a standard Jeweled Lotus and bracket 5 players have a foil Jeweled Lotus alt art. That's the difference for me. Because you just care that much about your singles in that deck that maybe has like 1 or 2 cards change yearly. Jeweled Lotus could be unbanned, but I wouldn't want it. Yeah, frankly,
I am happy with how cEDH is right now. I'm happy with how Commander is right now. I don't want Nadu, Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, or Mana Crypt to be unbanned.
I want Mana Crypt as maybe the only thing.
No, shame.
What's the issue? I see no issue with Mana Crypt. I see no issue with Mana Crypt.
It is such a heavy swing card.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take away the Rhystic Study and it'll feel a lot better. But I mean, it's just efficient mana at the cost of life, potentially. I don't know. I feel like in my mind, Soul Ring, I know people see that as the commander card, but Mana Crypt is the cEDH card. I feel like it kind of deserves to be in the format. Anyway, Jeweled Lotus, it could stay banned for me as well, despite the fact that I spent oodles on a really nice copy. I don't think it needs to see play, though it is, again, like, strictly for this format, so it's kind of sad that the one thing we got that's akin to a Black Lotus is dead, but you'll second me on the Mana Crypt? Yeah, when I think of, like, Commander at a competitive level, like, you're not enlightened tutoring a Soul Ring, you're getting a Mana Crypt. Like, it's the commander card for me. Because like even like a Vamp Tutor, like they're talking about homogenizes the game. Like in a cEDH setting, that card that you tutored 9 times out of 10, it's a Mana Crypt. It's always a Mana Crypt.
You know, you're making a compelling argument on why Mana Crypt should stay banned.
I know, but that's also why we love it. Like, I feel like it's the same reason, like, folks, I'm sure dig and want to see their Soul Rings. Like, if they're happy to see it, I guess if they open their hand with it. But we'll get to Mana Crypt when we get to Mana Crypt, I guess. Jeweled Lotus can stay banned. Oh, Mana Crypt's right there. Yeah. In this format with 40 life is 3 damage to detriment. It can be. It can be for lists that actively need. I've seen people die to Mana Crypt. It's far and few between, but like I've seen it happen. I do think it hurts lists that care about life as a resource, so that's not a bad thing. And I think it helps lists that are underpowered, but it also helps lists that are overpowered. I could see why it could deserve to stay banned, but in a lot of ways, I don't mind the efficiency of 2 colorless. It's better than an Ancient Tomb, though. An Ancient Tomb is on the Game Changer list, so.
I will say, they said they would put Sol Ring on the Game Changer list if not for the fact that it was such a key card for Commander.
Yeah.
Mana Crypt is better than Sol Ring by leaps.
For 40 life, yes, yeah. It's funny because in other formats, like Soul Ring is the it card. Like Soul Ring is a good fucking card. For Commander with 40 life, again, like this is technically just better Soul Ring. So I see it staying banned. Personally, spiritually, mentally, I'm prepared to have it in all my decks again, and I would really like to see that. But I'm not going to say go out of your way to pick up copies of this. I do not believe that this will get unbanned, sadly. Particularly if, I didn't look at who's on the panel, but if a lot of the same names are there as were with the RC, I don't think their philosophy will have changed if they're adhering to that. So, but I mean, you know what? You can make a lot of freaking mana off a Mana Crypt Secret Lair Final Fantasy Edition. So, I don't know, dude. Maybe they unbanned it for a while just to like sell those. Mana Crypt stays banned. Otherwise, you would have to justify why Soul Ring wasn't banned. Would you? Have you ever lost a game due to Mana Crypt trigger? Or played someone who has? Diego, yes. I have played against people who have lost to Mana Crypt triggers. I've never personally... I don't know if I've lost to Mana Crypt.
You have once on stream.
I think I did, actually. Yeah. Now that I think of like, that might be recorded. You'll have to find it. It happens. It does happen. And sometimes you just whiff and it happens. It's like, oh shit. And then you need to be mindful about how far you dig if you think that you could potentially die, unless you're being super greedy. At any rate, it should stay banned. I think we can kind of all agree with that. Panoptic Mirror.
Next card, the dumbest ban that I think we've ever had.
You savage beating with Panoptic Mirror though, dude, and you have infinite combats or something, right? How does it work?
No, you need to make Panoptic Mirror into
a creature, right?
Actually, no, it's upkeep. This is cast it on upkeep. You have to specifically use an extra turn spell.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'll quickly read this because a lot of people actually don't know what this card is. 5 mana for an artifact.
There's another staff that does it. I'm thinking of the other staff, but I'll look it up later.
Oh yeah, you're thinking of the equipment, yeah. But imprint for X and tap, you may exile an instant or sorcery card from your hand with mana value X. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy a card exiled with Panoptic Mirror. If you do, you may cast that copy without paying its mana cost. So, Panoptic Mirror is a 2-card combo with any extra turn spell. Panoptic Mirror is just a really dumb and good value engine because you can just keep replaying Demonic Tutor over and over and over again every single upkeep. Panoptic Mirror is just a really good card. Are you really going to pay 10 mana to take infinite extra turns? No. Panoptic Mirror is fine. I think Panoptic Mirror can be unbanned. Yes, it can combo. Yes, it can grind. Not much more than any other card. It's fine.
You may copy without paying mana cost. I mean, you could just drop the Panoptic Mirror and leave it there. You imprint what do you imprint for value before you do the extra turn spell? It's
like Profane Tutor. You just imprint Profane Tutor for 0 and you tutor every single upkeep from here on out.
It is one of the unique imprint cards though, because I think majority of them do the imprint like the first time. There's like the one mirror or Myrrh. There's this one. It's imprint is such a cool effect. Let me just start there. I like this card a lot. I agree with Will. I don't know that this isn't a bad effect. It's just like the cost of admission is really high, but it's mono blue or any other color, so it's very accessible. And I think Diego kind of hit the nail on the head. I think it was banned mostly because infinite turns, and again, that seems to be something they're against. It shouldn't be solitaire, though we find solitaire states all the damn time.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to say Panoptic Mirror is banned because of infinite turns, that just means Panoptic Mirror is a bracket 4. Because bracket 3 says no chaining extra turns. So the only time Panoptic Mirror is scary is bracket 4. But here's the thing. Foracle Consult is legal in bracket 4.
Historical. Wait. Oh yeah.
Thorkel Consult is legal in bracket 4. Panoptic Amir is competing with Thorkel Consult.
Well, isn't it? There's more copies of extra turn spells, Will. And if we
Yeah.
get Tinker, then it's much cheaper.
I'm sorry, until you can show me how you're going to Panoptic Mirror me out on turn 0, I'm not scared.
Is Tinker instant speed or sorcery?
Sorcery. Tinker Sorcery.
Okay, I'm trying to think of an instant speed way to cheat out Panoptic Mirror, and then like you imprint the extra turn spell off turn so that you just immediately start. Like there's got to be a cheese way to do it. I could see it being unbanned. I could see it being on the game changer list, and I would love to see it fuck up everyone's day. It's far too easy to cheat out
I cannot believe
Mirror.
it's still banned. I honestly think it should just skip the Game Changer list and be unbanned.
Angela says it's far too easy to cheat out Mirror in current EDH.
Like, cost reduction? Like, you're... There's the one Joyra, the 2-mana Joyra that lets you cheat in artifacts into play, but here's the thing. You cheat in Mirror, and then nothing happens. You still have to pay the mana to imprint the card and then do the thing, but then you imprint the card, and then people can respond to you. And yes, you can imprint at instant speed to be like, haha, surprise, I did the thing. But even if you're just holding up 5 mana with Mirror in play, people are going to go, there's going to be an extra turn spell.
Drax,
I'm blowing up Mirror on my turn.
Drax, you're right. Oswald could do it. Oswald won't do it though, just because he doesn't have any of the extra turn spells. That's some blue shit. That's some blue shit we don't understand in the world.
You could run the green extra turn spell. Or the red extra turn spell.
Mono white? Stop. I can't run shit. I can't run shit, sir, in my Oswald deck. But you know what I can run in Oswald?
Paradox.
Oh, shit. Where's my masterpiece? Where did I put my masterpiece?
Paradox Engine's a freaking weird one.
Shit.
So
wait, where did I put my masterpiece? No,
I am personally of the opinion that people would not run Paradox Engine in bracket 3 because people have a conscience. So it would likely only be bracket 4 because people understand power levels after dealing with this bracket system for enough.
I think that game changer. Yeah, you're right. You could run this in bracket 3, and that would be a nuisance, wouldn't it?
That would be horrible to deal with, but if it was bracket 4 only, it'd be fine. I think if you considered Paradox Engine as chaining extra turns for bracket 3, then I think Paradox Engine could go on the Game Changer. I don't think they're going to do it because they've built literally everything except bracket 4 as, hey, let's not make the game take like that extra 30 minutes longer, which Paradox Engine unfortunately does in casual.
Think if you are limited to 3 game changers in bracket 3, and this is one of them,
rocks. It's just rocks and ways of drawing cards.
Aren't you just an asshole?
Yeah.
Because I feel like someone with a high power deck or a cEDH deck would just pilot this for a win. Like there's only so many things you actively do in the game, right? You generate mana, you draw cards, you do damage. Like they're the basic things you do are pretty simple. If you know what you need to do to pilot for a win, it doesn't take that long. It's like, I think it's just the difference between an unexperienced player and an experienced one with seeing through play lines and following through with strategies. It's like, I don't see Paradox Engine being a problem at higher levels of play. I can see it being problematic for everyone else. If it's on the Game Changer list, again, it is limited to 3. And it's like you were saying, Will, I would consider this chaining extra turns because basically, if you have the ability to draw cards on your turn, you're chaining multiple turns without calling it additional turns. So I would say that this would need to be clause. This is that. You can only play it in 4 or 5.
If they made the Paradox Engine rule for bracket 3, Paradox Engine could be unbanned. Diego perfectly summed up what I've said in the past, and I think we've agreed on in the past, which is power-wise, it could be unbanned. Waiting on a solitaire gameplay, leave it there. That's kind of been my opinion for Paradox Engine for a while, because I've had so many people say, Paradox Engine's too good, Paradox Engine's too good, and then I had to bring up, do you not remember when Paradox Engine was cEDH legal? And so many people just went, I have Paradox Engine in hand and the mana to play it. I have 1 Dork in play and no mana rocks. I'm not playing Paradox Engine.
Yeah, it's really deck dependent. Like the fact that
It's
to
board
say
state dependent. Like
that
it
that
can
as
just
well.
be 5 mana, do nothing because you don't have things that you
Yeah.
care about in play.
Right. I mean, honestly, a deck like Oswald or a deck like Arkham Daxon would obviously care about this. It would be very good in those decks.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just really a means of closing out the game. Like if I were to power, because I only have so many 4 CMC artifacts, like if I could power this out, it would help close out the game so much quicker. Because right now it's a little convoluted. I have to store them. I know, but see again, like I feel like this is only really. I don't know how many 5-color decks want this. Like how many 4 or 5-color decks want this? I feel like the list that this helps out are niche in strategy and actively need to untap mass things to get the ball rolling on some big dumb snowball play line.
I say with Paradox Engine, the decks that care about Paradox Engine are the decks where any commander says cast from blank or draw. So like Urza and Yawgmoth are the two best examples that I think there are. Because fun fact, and this is the weirdest thing because so many people would think this is not the fact. Paradox Engine was legal with Modern Horizons 1, and Urza and Yawgmoth were both able to play with Paradox Engine. Urza goes infinite with Paradox Engine because if you hit a non-land card, you untap all of your stuff, and then you can roll like 2 more times with Urza. Yawgmoth had a higher play-to-win rate with Paradox Engine than Urza. Yawgmoth used Paradox Engine better than Urza did, funnily enough.
Didn't we find a new combo with the Thran Physician?
Yes, it was the cat card from the new set. Whenever you discard a card, make a 2/2 zombie.
Dude. Dramatic Scepter, I think, does Paradox Engine shenanigans better and actually faster, more streamlined.
It's locked to blue. That is the only reason why.
Right.
Debatably no, but yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's definitely more efficient mana wise, if not for having to have 2 cards. I think that Paradox, with an asterisk,
power level, it can be unbanned. Gameplay, if it can't be played in 3, yes.
I want to see it on the game changer list for a second. Like if we're in beta, can we just open the floodgates and just let shit happen, please? And like the community will speak. Like if we're actively trying to listen to the community, I think the community will speak, myself included. I think it would do well on the game changer list. And again, I do think that this is considerably chaining turns, or at least elongating a turn, which I know we want to avoid. So that might be it. I think Sundering Titan. Oh, never mind. That's not it.
But Sundering Titan is like the next one, and honestly, Sundering Titan could probably be. Oh wait, no. I think no. Yeah, you're gonna. I thought Time Vault was gonna be the next one. I was gonna go.
No.
Sundering Titan, weirdly enough, could probably be unbanned, and here's why. It's only bracket 4 because it's technically mass land destruction, and it is an anti-Wooper card specifically. Yes, it can like wreck people's days, but Sundering Titan only hits lands of basic land types and cannot hit the same basic land type more than once. So if you have like a green deck at the table, a Simic deck at the table, and a Wooburg deck at the table, you're hitting the Wooburg deck for 3 of the land types, and then splitting the last 2 between the Simic and the green deck.
Not my Golos deck.
Yes, your Golos deck.
I think this falls in line with mass land destruction bad.
Yeah, but it's mass land destruction bad, but mass land destruction is only bracket 4. Sundering Titan's fine on bracket 4. I don't. They're scarier. Once again, you're competing Sundering Titan with like Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, or like just big dumb scary combos. Sundering Titan is fine. It's annoying. It slows down the game, but it's really fine considering the fact that it's only being played in bracket 4.
Yeah, 100%. I think it could be a game changer, much like this other card.
Time Vault. No, Patrick. I know you want it, but no.
Look at his little hammer.
Is that a hammer? Is that an axe? The world may never know because the card's banned.
It's so good. It's so good. God, give me the manifold key. Give it to me now. give me the damn manifold key. All right, I'll take a voltaic key. I'll take any key. Just let me unlock this shit. Let me just show the world what you can do with 2 mana in a fucking dream. Time Vault's a great card.
Way too good.
You know, wait, whoa. Hey, hold up. Because extra turns, we don't do that. We don't do that. It's only.
I will not allow that card in cEDH, Patrick.
It's only bracket 4 and bracket 5. It's only bracket 4 and bracket 5. What this is good.
It's the only combo that would be played bracket 4.
Would you rather do this or Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation?
This every time this.
Well, wait, that's not true. Because you're gonna have to use dumb shit that Oswald uses. Y'all aren't using fucking Kira's follower in your deck. What do you get Ral Zarek in there? What are you running? How are you untapping this?
Patrick, if you are trying to compare Time Vault and Key to like Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, would I rather run like Demonic Consultation, which is like a crappy tutor, or would I want to run the keys or any of the other key similar effects? Probably the things that are constantly generating me mana.
Yeah. You have every excuse at that point. The prices of Voltaic Key and Manifold Key would skyrocket. They'd be like, "Oh shit! Wait, well, let's get
the Servitor, the thing that people only ever play
yeah.
for that little bit of
Hell
time.
Yeah,
you'd run that.
Yeah, the Generator Servant.
Yes.
No, Generator Servant's red. It's Manifold Servant. Voltaic Servant.
Yes, well, I think it's Voltaic Servant.
It has one of those names attached to it. It's a $200 card. Oh, these are collector's editions. Oh shit, you ain't gonna buy one of these, man.
Yeah, you're not buying them, but
never mind. Okay, you can stay banned. Unless we unreserved list it and just give me a damned Final Fantasy VII Cloud and Tifa making out Time Vault version. I would love that. Actually, I ship Aerith more than I Aerith. I ship her more than Tifa.
By the way,
sorry, Voltaic Servant. Thank you.
You got it 100%.
Oh shit! Is this a poll? This is a poll for Final Fantasy. Who do you ship? Do you ship Tifa or Aerith? Okay. The last
three, the quick 3 ones.
The lands.
Yeah, Caracas probably stays banned because it abuses the format. Everybody's playing legendaries. It's such a good card and it's free removal.
Yeah, but only if you're in white, Will.
Yeah, but you play white as like your only cEDH deck, so you're happy with this card.
I would love this shit. I would love this. You know what? Honestly, can we have it only in mono white? Because really, we need more interaction. This is great. Yeah, no, this is just auto slot. It's so
every white deck.
It's
literally
so
every
good.
White deck because there's no reason not to.
If Caracas was a world land, and like other Caracas had to go away if one came into play, that'd be kind of cool. World enchantments need to come back.
But next we have Tolarian Academy. No. Have it die in a fire. Card's so gross.
But it's funny that like Guy's
Eternal one is dumb.
Well, we got Guy's Cradle. We got Sarah Sanctum.
Yeah, but Guy's Cradle doesn't. Guy's Cradle kind of makes you feel like an idiot for not drawing Guy's Cradle if you're running every single Ornithopter and Memnite in the freaking game. Whereas Tolarian Academy is just like, oh, you're running all of the fast mana and we're going to give you benefits for it?
Yeah.
The thing you already run.
Funny how only the blue generating one gets fucked. I wonder why. All the blue cards are on here. What's that about?
Last card, Library of Alexandria. Card's broken.
So good! I'm like, you're gonna have to play the game eventually, Will.
If Library of Alexandria ever gets unbanned, literally every single deck that can run it will run it.
God, I will drop $1,300. I'll take a Tauren version. If anyone has a ripped Library of Alexandria, please let me know. I will give you $5.
And a high five.
I'll give you a high five. Because blue is busted. Yeah, no, blue is busted. Blue's still busted. Blue's pretty fucking cracked. Blue's
For
pretty
those who
cracked.
don't know the reason why Library of Alexandria is a dumb card, though, really quick, it taps for
Does it
one
need
mana only.
explaining? Wait,
Well,
say-
some people don't know why it's really dumb, but it's
oh,
tap for mana or tap to draw a card if you have exactly 7 cards in hand. The reason it's dumb
oh,
is you will draw to have 8 in hand, play this as your 1 card per turn, then on anybody else's turn, tap it to draw a card. Now you have 8 cards in hand, then 9, play land per turn, play a thing,
yeah.
draw another card, draw another card, draw another card. This
So,
is selling mine for 0 mana only for you, and you just skip your first land drop to play it.
yeah, if you've ever played Power Cube and have like drafted a Library of Alexandria, and you've got that sweet turn one Library of Alexandria, it's rare, unless they have a strip mine, that you lose. Like to have that kind of card quality turn one immediately, it's so good. It's so good. Bazaars of Baghdad pales. It's like you don't really, you just wait. You just bide your time. And in a 4-person format, like you are sitting so comfortably. There are ways to draw more effectively if you just like cheat out ramp and play other shit, right? Like, you know, maybe it's advisable to just go for the Rhystic Study. But this is like a 1-card combo, I guess you would say. You just need to just chill. You just need to chill.
This is Mystic Remora. It's Mystic Remora in any color. It's the thing that you're playing on turn 1 and paying like a
Yeah.
little bit of mana into to keep drawing cards. Then eventually you say, I'm going to save my mana by not paying into this.
Yeah.
The difference is, this is not drawing you as many cards as Mystic Remora, but you only ever have to pay 1 mana to keep it around.
Yeah, you know it's funny, man. Yeah, Diego, it's so funny, dude. I again, Justin owns a Power Cube, so like I've had the pleasure of playing cards like Time Vault and a lot of these cards we've discussed. A Library of Alexandria is one of them. It's one of my favorite cards to see. Like if and it also just taps for mana. It just feels wrong that it's also just a mana resource because of how effective it is. But there's a lot of games where you could just idle by, run a counter spell. Usually I'm playing a control list if I'm on Alexandria, because I'm just sit and wait. I will always be at advantage with hand size, and then when I'm ready, I'll play out some line of combo. It's great. Yeah, I love it. I think it needs to be banned. So
100%.
I don't know if we had a running list. I'm sorry, but there's a few cards we obviously discussed just there that we think could probably go onto the game changer list. If you were following along, I highly encourage. If someone wants to be a real Chad, is Chad a good thing? If you want to be a real Chad, a real bro, a real broski, feel free to put a list of potential game changers in the comments after this video, because I do think it would be of benefit for all of us looking to pick up these cards speculatively before anything gets game changed or unbanned, for sure, 100%. Because the prices will go up, especially for the RL cards. They'll more than double whatever something that could be reprinted at will go up. Especially with the brackets fully formed now and us having a complete understanding. And let me know also if you guys are interested. We do a lot of live stream deck techs here. That's honestly, building decks is one of my favorite things to do in Magic the Gathering, and that's kind of why I enjoy Cube so much. But if you want to build for specific brackets, we can do that now. Again, like Golos Gates, in the off chance that it's like on the game changer list, I would love to do a Golos Gates list. I would kind of want to stick to bracket 3, but we could do like a high powered or competitive deck. I feel like, and it's interesting because what I did was I ran a poll earlier to see where we all felt like our decks landed, and it seems like a majority of us feel like our decks are bracket 4, surprisingly. So I think for decks moving forward, we could say like we're going to make cEDH list, but I would say that they probably roughly fall within bracket 4 and can win in bracket 5. But I would love to do like meme lists with you guys, and I think that certainly limited bracket 3 lists seem more interesting to me. They do. I like only having a set amount of cards that are on the game changer list that are accessible. Like that doesn't bother me. And it just gives us more room to play around with like fun effects. So I think those lists would be very fun, because I think for a majority of cEDH lists, we could copy and paste a lot of things and alter like 6 to 7 cards. So bracket 3 is kind of exciting for me. How do you feel about the bracket system? Will, obviously, and you guys. Let me know how you feel about this. Are you excited for the future of the format? And what set are you most excited for? If you couldn't tell, I'm excited for Final Fantasy. Will, are you happy with what they've unveiled today? It was an hour-long video. I highly encourage you watch their video after this.
Yeah, I like the bracket system. Like I said, my only real complaint is like bracket 1. It either feels like it's completely unnecessary, or arbitrarily just bracket 2. Um, I'm not happy with bracket 1, or at least the description of bracket 1. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I feel like bracket 2 is pretty clear. It's just the precons. Bracket 3 is like better versions of the precons. Bracket 4 is like game nights when they're not playing with the precons, and then bracket 5 is just cEDH.
Would you say Golos Gates would be bracket 4?
Yeah, I'd say Golos Gates is like bracket 4, because bracket 4 isn't like you're playing the most competitive stuff. Bracket 4 is like you're playing for fun, but you're building it in the most optimized way so that you can do the fun thing consistently.
If you only kept 3 game changers, though, do you know what I mean? Like if you only kept 3 game changers and you forcibly made it bracket 3.
It would probably still be bracket 4, even if you only ran 3 game changers.
Just because of the efficiency of that commander.
Yeah, well, just because of the efficiency of gates in general. Gates are a pretty powerful strategy.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot of mana off of gates, because some of the Baldur's Gate is tap and make mana equal to the number of gates you control. Like that's a lot of mana.
Crop rotate that one out. You want to tap that one.
Yeah.
You'll want to tap that
one. Play Golos, and then you get the Gaunt Gate, which says all of your gates enter untapped.
Oh shit! Is that one of them?
That's one of them.
Oh yes, dude. Oh, so, okay. I really want to do Golos Gates now. Can we build a Golos Gates in anticipation?
Sure.
Do you want to make signs so he can stand outside of the prison he's being kept at? And
Yeah.
whoa, free Golos! We're so excited to see you. We're not going to do that, but yeah, guys, it's fun chatting about the game. It's fun chatting about the format. I'm glad we had this video. I need to compile a short list of some cards that I'm going to buy, because I will actually be picking up some cards that are currently banned, just in case. Will got way ahead of me there.
I was ahead of everybody.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea, though. I definitely think it's going to be a good idea. Guys, I am going to go to bed. I need to work tomorrow. Here's some announcements, though, if you wanted to know. We are going to do the Ether Drift tier list on Saturday. So if you want to discuss the legendaries, we'll be coming up with a different tier list system for that. So it falls in line with the brackets. And we can discuss all the new legendaries that came out. I will be in Dallas for One Piece Day, if anyone's a fan of that franchise. So if you see me, say hi. I'll be competing there. I do okay with that game. Thank God. I'm happy I'm okay at one of the games I play. But you'll see me there. We can play some games. I don't know that I'm going to bring Commander, but I very easily could. I just don't like traveling with that expensive box of cards.
That is why I proxy.
I
Because
know.
I can go to my events and I'm like, I have these cards at home. I just don't want to bring them.
Yeah, I know. I feel that way too. I begin to feel more and more that way. It feels silly when you spend so much money on like cards, but I've seen people lose their cards or like forget their bag in a train or some shit. And it's like I feel like I wouldn't do that, but you never know. So at any rate, I'll be there. I won't be in Chicago, but I would love to go to another Magic Fest or Magic event. So hopefully in the not too distant future. But I'd love to get some more Commander games in. But yeah, bracketed Commander tier list. And also, we should be building a deck next week. Probably from Ether Drift, but let's just do Golos. Let's do Golos. I feel like Gates Golos exists, but that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Maze's End is ironically the first card you add to the 99 of Golos Gates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it searches out all the other gates, and then you're searching 2 gates a turn.
Yeah, don't you just win the game with 8 gates?
10. You need 10 different named gates to win the game with Maze's End.
And it's an upkeep trigger.
It's on activation, but it's you return Maze's End to your hand, and Maze's End enters the battlefield tapped.
I think you should do a double tier list for this one time. So we can see where you're drawing power level equivalency. I think you should do a double tier list for this one. What do you mean, like a list for you guys and a list for us? Just so we can see where you're drawing power level equivalencies. Do you get that one? Sorry.
I like not sure if that means like our usual D to S and also bracket 1 to 5, or if they mean they do one beside us.
I don't know. I was going to say I'm not obsessed with One Piece, but then again, I just like ordered this gashapon from Japan because I spent like $50 on gashapon and I only got 5 of the 6. And the one figure I wanted to get going into it, I just didn't pull. So I went way out of my way to buy it. Definitely overspent on this. But now I've got all
Diego,
6.
Angelus is saying double tier list, not double deck list.
I'll do 2 deck lists for Golos.
Yeah, brackets and F to S.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
See, we would do that, but that takes a lot of extra time.
It would. Yeah, I really thought that this would be a 2-hour conversation, but
I said it was going to be 3. It was nail on the head. It's 10 minutes till 3 hours.
Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you Saturday. Hopefully you guys enjoy Ether Drift. If you did a pre-release or if you're picking up sets cards now, definitely watch that last video.
Before we head out and before we fully peace out, I will say, if you do plan on buying cards, I would say probably go for Gifts Ungiven and Coalition Victory. Those seem like the 2 most likely to be unbanned that would be worth something.
Yeah, and consider getting them through the TCG player link in the description, because it works now.
Indeed.
It took them a while to figure that out, but hey, shit, I'm going to check out I have not opened any of these other gashapon because I was waiting, because they're supposed to stack up, Will. You can stack them up and make a little mountain of figurines. I pulled the Luffy. How cool is that? You excited?
Nice.
He's in there. Gear 5 Luffy. That's pretty cool. I'm not into One Piece, but share the love. Have a great time. And yeah, Dallas should be fun. I practiced. I did really well at this online turn. It's actually you can watch videos of me beating people on this online stream. I got second. I just had the shittiest luck in my semifinal and I lost. I had literally nothing to do. So, and that shit happens. But I've considered watching One Piece. I wouldn't say you have to watch One Piece. Because of Wanda and Carrot? Oh, okay. Well, that says a lot about you, Drex. Wanda and Carrot are anthropomorphized animals. They're furries, Will.
Yes, I know. I've seen One Piece.
Okay. See you guys.